Hello everyone, welcome to the 18th episode of the official Sucrose Stans podcast. Today is a very special episode because we are celebrating half a year of Sucrose Stans podcast. Yes, this podcast exists since half a year, almost. But the idea of it exists since half a year. Yeah, we can clap, everyone clap for us. Hello, is anyone there?
Hold on.
I guess the mics are not picking up the claps.
Okay, thank you for the clapping. Anyway, today we are full house, apparently. We are a full house. There might be some more people joining soon, but we are 4 for now, starting with Kinkle. Kinkle is here today. Hello, Kinkle.
Oh, first this time. Hello, everyone. My name is Kinkle. I am a Genshin content creator. I do a lot of streams. I do account reviews, a bit clears, and also a bit of TC.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Then Martin.
Hello. I do not do content, at least not as far as I'm aware. I do some theory crafting for unconventional teams. Usually they're around 4-star characters. And I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so perfect for this episode because we are talking about 4 stars. Then a new guest joined us today, Raulfigas. Do you want to say a few words about yourself?
Not really much. Name's Raul, and all I really do is just clears in Abyss. That's it. I don't really intend to do much, just that. Try to do speedrunning, but I'm not built for it.
Yeah, we are also very happy to have you here. All the channels are linked in the description, and I guess we can start even though there are still people missing, but it's fine. Okay, so how is this going to work? First of all, the disclaimers, very important. We are basically mostly looking at C6 4 stars. If a character's entire potential is locked behind their C6, that will also be taken into account. And also just remember that everyone has a different perspective on the game. So these rankings could look very different, but there's no definitive answer since it is subjective after all, what we value. There's never going to be an objective tier list for this game. Unless you want to say Marika is the best carry or something. She is at the moment. That's I guess that's objective. I guess some people would still agree, but I feel like those people, yeah, interesting. Okay, let's just, that's basically the disclaimers out of the way. And we have separated these into on-fielders, off-fielders, and supports. On-fielders, basically, we only value them for doing damage. So they are supposed to be the majority of the team's damage, if not even basically 90% of the team's damage. So the usual carries. Then we have off-fielders. Off-fielders are just characters who help the team out by applying their elements and also doing a bit of damage by themselves and maybe some supportive capabilities, but it's not their main focus. And then we have the supports who don't really do damage and don't really apply too much of an element, but are just there to give buffs to the team or survivability or other upsides in the game. Okay, that's that out of the way. Each list has 5 different characters. There can also be one character in multiple lists because some characters have different playstyles and some just at a baseline do 2 different things. Yeah, that's everything out of the way. Then I'm going to reveal the on-fielders. Thundah is just there because he was supposed to be here, but he couldn't come today. We are very sad, but it is okay. So I will reveal. Okay. Glad to see everyone Oh wait, the Kinkle, what's your number 1?
But did it not show?
I think. Oh, it has the wrong coding. Wait. Oh, okay. You also put Gaming at number 1. Okay, everyone put Gaming at
Yeah,
number 1.
I think if like anyone chose anyone other than Gaming, it would have been a very questionable pick. Gaming is a little too strong.
Yeah, he literally no dips everyone on the roster.
Yeah. Okay. Do we want to go into Gaming? I mean, there's not much to say. Martin, do you want to
True.
talk about Gaming?
I mean, the thing I wanted to talk about Gaming is didn't want him to be in this list to begin with, because I knew he was gonna be like everyone's pick. So, like you said, it's not gonna be that interesting to talk about him. He's just a really good carry. The one thing I guess I could talk about that would be interesting is the discussion of should you or should you not play him below C4? Because some people would argue he's not worth building unless you have C6, which I don't think is true at all. I think you can easily play him and still get very good results, even at C4. But below C4, his energy requirements are very, very, very rough, to say the least. So he can end up being this reset M-backed kind of carry, where if you start the next chamber without his ultimate, you're probably going to spend a very long time funneling into him. So I personally think he's worth building, even at lower constellations, if you don't have a good pyro carry and you need a pyro carry for whatever reason that is, or you have Citalali somehow without having any of the synergistic units with her. Even without Citalali, you can run a kind of cope 4-star team and it will still clear pretty well. Overall, he's just good. It's mostly just getting used to Munchai and being able to do some like advanced juggling tech that could make a big difference between people who know how to play or are comfortable at playing Gaming and people who are new to playing Gaming.
Yeah, it would be even funnier if he was like a catalyst and used Witsiv or something. Then he would be peak speedrun chesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not much other than that to say. I also think he can be challenging to play. There's some aspects of RNG involved, but yeah, that's Gaming. Abuses Citlali very well, one of the best supports in the game. Yeah. Then we can go off the second slot, which is already pretty different. I personally chose Bennett because even though it's not something that people play, technically he is a very strong pyro carry with Citlali.
Yeah.
Both plunge and just mainline main skill, just spamming skill is already kind of a lot of damage with Citlali. But I don't think it's very good, and I'm going to say this, my personal opinion, everything below Gaming here is not really extremely relevant. Like,
well,
it's kind of...
Yeah. I mean...
The bar is too high.
I want to say this, right? The thing is with like, if we talk about plunge, like melt plunge, let's say Bennett, Xiangqiu and Citlali, you can kind of make any character a decent carry if you have C6 Bennett. So like, and the benefit of Bennett is that if in that team, Bennett actually gets an extra buffer because he takes up his own slot, right? So I don't know why I didn't think about Bennett. I don't know. Like I put Faruzan on there, even though she's mostly a support. I'll explain why I put her on there, but I didn't think for Bennett for some reason. I would have definitely put him on over someone like yeah.
I didn't even think about Melt, I will be honest. I was thinking about TF Bennett.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I didn't take Melt plunge into account. In fact, I didn't take plunge into account in anyone. I don't believe Xiangqiu is a character until like C2R1.
I also didn't involve plunging at all, but I mostly didn't involve it because I agree with Kinkle. At that point, you can make anyone into a plunger.
My argument about Bennett isn't that you're supposed to play him as a plunge carry. I even think that Bennett just melting his skills and stuff.
No,
That's already.
His skill damage, his skill spam is very good.
If it was just
It's
plunge, I don't
reasonable
know
damage.
if he like plunge is just pyro plunge carries are very reliant on single target since Xiangling is such a like relatively big factor, like carried by the plunge multiplier from Xiangling, who is only single target. So that already makes the team a bit.
Some of them can perform well in AoE, mostly Gaming.
Yeah,
Gaming's main issue with Furino was the AoE, but now Citlali has that, so that makes him playable there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, should we go? Yeah, true. What about the other characters? Kinkle, you chose Yanfei. What do you think about Yanfei?
Yanfei just has one of her biggest strengths in my opinion, because maybe I'm a Witsith and how do you say?
Enjoyer?
I guess enjoyer, but factoring in both plunge and also just not plunge, she just is a fairly strong carry. And I put her over Power MC because though they're kind of similar from what I've seen of clears, but with Widsith just being such a powerhouse, if you get which for Yanfei she uses all 3 buffs, which is good.
Yeah.
So she ends up being very strong.
Yeah, with Widsith, I would have also probably put Yanfei over PMC. I didn't take Widsith into account. What about?
It's just kind of disgusting.
What about Noelle? Noel. There's Noelle.
Noelle? Oh, Noelle is weird. Because
he's missing an E.
Single target because of double hydro. And then her AoE damage got a bit of an upgrade with Xiangling, yeah?
Yeah, Xiangling, yeah.
But then it's still extremely meh, to the point you're just better off playing single target no matter what. So it feels weird playing a character with such AoE in single target because her AoE isn't good.
Yeah, I personally think that Noelle is one of the characters that is the most reliant on 5 stars with early constellations. I think Noelle has a good team with C2 Furina, C2 Xiangling, and C2 Chiori, which is very expensive, but that team is good. I mean that team is very good, and I think Noelle is very comfortable to play. She has she doesn't get interrupted basically, constantly healing the team.
Her ER requirements make her somewhat uncomfortable, but
yeah, I mean, true, I guess, yeah.
If you do 2 skills, you can get about to around 130 ER or lower. If you do 2 of them and funnel both of them in the middle of the run, you can do that.
Yeah, you can funnel Xiangling into Noelle. I mean, Xiangling doesn't need.
Well, I haven't played DPS Noelle since Xiangling, so I haven't experienced that yet. So that's my own issue, but yeah.
I have played it, and you can if you're fast enough.
I would say, I guess, since technically I'm the guy who has Noelle the highest next to Flip, who isn't here to talk about why he have her so high. I would say a few things, but I guess I'm sorry I interrupted you, Saga. If you can finish what you want to say.
No, you can go on. It's
okay. Okay, so here's the thing. The character has very, very, very good AoE. If we're ever gonna consider AoE as something, as any form of a metric at all. Everyone knows that they can easily abuse the spin bug with her, which is not difficult to do. She doesn't really lose that much from being able to spin around, because you could argue, oh, you're not going to be able to proc Yelan, but if you're spinning, that's because you're multi-target, and in multi-target Yelan is only hitting one person. So once we start looking at let's say 3-4 targets, it's still better to just spin than to go with Yelan. Another thing that some people forget is that if you are running double Hydro with Furina, you can get another Yelan E within the same rotation to kind of lower your ER requirements. That's not only gonna lower your hydro characters, that's also gonna lower Noelle. A lot of people that don't have Beak Patrol, for example, will be using Fav, and Fav on Xiangling, you get to do 2 skills, and there's 0 reasons for you to ult on Xiangling because you have Noelle healing, and it's more than enough, and it's team wind on top of the shield. So
Yep.
it's literally as simple as you press E on Xiangling and you switch to Noelle again. If you can't do that, I guess you can't tunnel. Like you can't even funnel with Bennett and Xiangling, which is like something that most content creators talk about. Like it's a normal thing to expect from players. So she's on bar from my testing with Ito, and I have a really good Ito build, but I also have a very good Noelle build. And when put on bar with each other, they basically end up doing the same damage, and that should tell you a lot because Ito is not a healer or a shielder. She is.
Yeah.
So being
Yeah.
able to get similar results to basically what used to be the premium Geo support before Navia came out is saying a lot. On top of that, she's very comfortable, unlike Gaming. Not to say that she's better than Gaming, obviously, but to say for people who might struggle without a shield or without healing, they can be more than safe against the concentrated beasts, for example, right? But I do agree with you, Saga, on the fact that she is more 5-star dependent. I don't think she is constellation dependent. I think even with just C0 5 stars, you'll do a very good amount of damage. You can get a very good upgrade in Red Horn for her because she can
Yeah.
fully utilize the passive of Red
I
Horn.
was about to. Can I comment on that?
Yeah, sure.
Regarding Red Horn, she's a perfect Red Horn abuser, arguably even
Yeah.
more than Ito, because the charge
Ito
attack
has
is just. Raulfigas, did you want to say something? Oh, okay.
No, go ahead. Keep it going.
The charge attack. I don't remember how it was, but I think the charge attack, like extra defense, is higher than the normal attack, like multiplier from the weapon. I'm not sure. I kind of forgot the weapon, but anyway, it's a pretty high multiplier you get for the charge attacks. And since Noelle hits a lot with her charge attack, more often than Ito, I'm pretty sure, right? Like especially if you like book. If you do the booking trick, then it does like buff Noelle more than it buffs Ito technically. Like she can take a better advantage out of the weapon. But yeah,
and you're right. The scaling at R1 is 28. No, actually, it's 40% for both normal attack and charge attack.
Okay, I see.
So it's the same amount, but like you said, she can technically abuse charge attack more than Ito because Ito eventually will run out of stacks, unless you're C6, that is. So you will have to do normal attacks. So she can beat him in AoE.
Yeah, I accidentally switched that. I think I meant to say that it's better to charge attack than to normal attack, even in single target when you have Red Horn or something, unless you're playing Yelan. I think that's the case.
Yeah. Which a lot of times you'll end up playing Leon because it just fits so well for a double hydro core, which is really good right now. Emphasis on right now.
Yeah.
That might be changing soonish. But yeah, I like honestly, I don't know. I don't think Noelle, like with Xiangling double hydro, Yelan Farina, is bad at all. Like I don't see it struggling to clear content. Like the only time you'll get countered is if they start spamming you with different elemental requirements. Then and even then you could argue that Geo is natural, so it does a decent job at doing both. It's just if you don't end up being able to generate energy for whatever reason with Xiangling, then Noelle basically doesn't apply that much Geo at all, if any, which becomes a serious issue. But yeah, she's a good 4-star that most people have, and it's worth building. But it's one of those 4-stars, like you said, where probably you really want the C6. She's kind of not all that great at C5.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, really want that. Really badly. I've played it before T6 and it's... Oh, goodness.
Mm-hmm.
The difference was noticeable when I got it.
Okay, well, are we going to talk about Sethos next? Anyone want to say something about Sethos?
Oh yeah, I just started playing him, and let me tell you, wall cancels are actually extremely easy. You can pull off his maximum potential very easily. The
Yeah.
main issue with him is that the single target reliance, mostly because of Fischl. A good portion of the damage is also Fischl, on top of Sethos. But then there's another issue. None of the Dendros are good. They're all so fucking bad at applying their element in AoE that I was considering Kinich Burst bot at some point. They're all so bad. Like,
Nahida because
he
of the
could
multi-wave issue, right?
yes,
Yeah.
especially with Nahida. Like, you go on burst with him, you kill the first wave, and then what? And then nothing. You can apply that to many Dendros. Kirara has
Yeah.
a big cooldown that if it doesn't match up, you will also have issues. Yao Yao has RNG application. DMC's AoE is small without Hydro, and you're barely playing Hydro with him most of the time. Conley is the same thing but worse. And Emily just doesn't function.
What about Yao Yao?
Yao Yao has RNG application. Like, it sometimes targets new enemies, and other times targets the same enemy that already has Dendro.
And if
Which
you
is a
take
bit
damage,
weird.
she doesn't apply Dendro.
Yeah,
I mean,
that too.
I mean, no, that's what I was
That's
thinking though. Like, can't you take that to your advantage? As in, if you're lower on HP, she will automatically target you, which means that if you're close to an enemy, they get hit by the Dendro hit.
Yes, you can do that. However, here's the issue. You don't dash on Sethos combos. If you do that, it's a damage loss. You
Yeah, for
end
sure.
to walk. You're basically a vegetable. You don't move.
Yeah, you don't
So
move at all. True,
once
if you do
started
like
and you're
perfect
done.
cancels.
It's basically like playing Yoimiya shieldless.
And I assume Baiju is too slow at applying the element as well.
Wait, paying your
No,
Mia Shieldless is not that bad. I've been doing it for years. It's not that bad.
Buzz applies enough for one target, both in Aggravate and Quick Bloom. But
Yeah,
he
in
also has
AoE
the
is
problem with AoE.
in
His
AoE
I
it's
mean, he has
sus.
the skill with 3 hits, can apply to 3 targets, but past that you're just doing one target. He basically has no AoE potential due to no Dendros having AoE potential. The best possible AoE is Kinich Burst Bot. I'm not joking.
I mean, what about
It's the
Kirara
best
with
option.
grouping? Because the bombs kind of like, they stay
You can
around,
manage.
so
If they don't explode on the cast as well, if they stay, they apply. If they don't, you're fucked. You have
yeah.
no other option.
That's the issue. That's why I wish like her Dendro application at C4 was a bit quicker. Because it's barely enough to keep aggravates going, but for multi-target, it's gonna struggle.
It is
for her.
enough for single target. It's enough for around 16 seconds, and Sethos uptime is 9. So it's very easy to maintain it, at least for one. Now multi, it's a different story.
What about compensating damage though for charge shots?
That's a thing you can do. Yes, that's a thing about Sethos combos. You have to think when to use them as well. If you use them badly, you waste too much energy and then you just fuck up the rotation completely. That's one thing. You can do that, like kill one wave with charge attacks, then with Nahida you apply to the other, try to gain the energy back and then do the burst. Because by the time you use all your charge attacks, you don't have the ascension for passive anymore. And on stats out, his charge attacks don't do as much. It has a limit of 4 hits.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like we got pretty deep into Sethos TC there.
I was supposed to put him above Yanfei, but then I was like, I have both of them built. I'm just gonna play both. Play it both on like different comps. I had Sethos at 3rd place first. Then I played both and I'm like, yeah, nah, Yanfei's better. Fuck it.
It's
They
not
both
close with me. I feel
They
like it's not
both
close
have
between them.
some AoE issues.
Yeah.
Because Yanfei, Yanfei cannot play Melt because her charge attack applies twice in a row. It's near impossible to make Melt properly played. So like
Yes.
they're both single target basically.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess that leads us to the next Pyro character that's, I guess, similar to Yanfei, which would be Pyro main character. I'm being honest, this is like, for me, it's just a take that I, like a dart that I placed into the blue, hoping that it will work. Because I think, like, I've never played it, I've never cheated. I did cheat it, it was pretty good. But I have no idea if this is good, but just PMC Sidlali Bennett or something that just sounds like he's getting carried by Melt, and that's probably good enough. I think Kinkle...
It has a little bit of an issue as well. But what
Yeah.
you're saying? Sorry.
The one issue with him that made me feel horrible is I saw a Blunge Melt with Shenyu and Situlali Bennett. His
Yes.
80 takes away the cryo application.
Yes, I was gonna mention that Melt is
Yeah.
And
too
you can't really
unplayable.
do anything about it, unfortunately. No matter how hard you try, you're gonna get 2 at maximum if you're lucky, and then it's just gonna be mono pyro from that point onward.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically the same issue as Yanfei, but worse.
Yeah, I was also thinking about just playing Hydros instead, maybe. But like, then you're basically like back to Farina Yelan or something.
I've played it and it performs solid, but for me it wasn't worth putting it on top 5. I didn't even know MC was available.
Yeah, PMC does count. I think I said that in one in the group chat, but don't worry about it. I mean, Pyro main character is like Kinkle. Do you have maybe? I will be right back. But Kinkle can overtake with some Pyro main character takes. I will be right back.
I don't have many, to be honest, because I don't have MC in my own account, so I've had to go off of footage and what I've seen. But I say she because I use Lamine because Aether's a fucking dunce. But anyway, she seems very strong. Obviously Plunge with her is pretty good, but even without Plunge, I don't know. She seems like a pretty competent DPS. I've seen her do quite a bit of damage. She's really strong clears too that I've seen. Which is why I put her over Noelle. I've seen her clear faster than Noelle.
If you don't crit its burst, you lose a lot of DPR.
That is very true. Yes.
It's basically like playing Pyro Eula at some point.
To an extent, yeah. Well, at least the burst is front loaded and not back loaded, so it's just as long as you're. I mean, there's a lot of characters where I would say Gaming to an extent, but his burst isn't the majority of his damage. But it can be a pretty big chunk.
Can front load decent with like Q and first plunge in like 2 seconds. It can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree that not critting the burst does mess with the amount of damage you do in rotation if you miss their crit. It's a pretty big chunk.
And from what I have played, critting it and not critting it made the difference between it being like a 7-0-1 clear or it being somewhat solid.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. Did I miss anything?
No, perfect timing.
No.
I think the DMC discussion is coming to an end.
Okay. Well, then let's talk about.
I want Martin to explain why Dory's with Sucrose, sure. Why Dory's here and Fremine, both Dory and Fremine. I'm like, dude, why?
I mean, you're gonna have to wait.
I mean, Sucrose would be the next character that was on here, I think. So
I'm the only one who has Sucrose on. Okay.
I didn't consider Nakama, but
Nakama. Yeah,
I didn't consider Sucrose because I feel like she's not really like if you in her teams. Is she really a carry?
The main thing with Sucrose is like we don't have like any good Forster DPSs, so Sucrose being like a driver is just one of the best things you can get as a Forster.
Yeah.
I guess so, yeah.
Because
I just
like
didn't consider
when
an
I
actual
was
DPS.
thinking
That was the
like
problem.
when I'm thinking like a 4-star DPS, I'm thinking like it's someone that you're using on field and he's doing a lot in terms of damage. And the reason she's doing a lot in terms of damage is because she enables everyone else to do a lot more damage. Like
I
it
guess
might,
Yeah.
you could argue it's not her damage, it's the team's damage, yeah, but no one else can do what she's doing as good as she's doing
Yeah.
it, you know?
That's
For
fair, yeah.
And
I don't doubt her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't doubt her ability. It's just the more like it's the specific of the thing where it says characters that are on field and who do most, if not all, the team's damage. I took that to heart and didn't consider Sucrose here. That was the thing.
I also did that. I put her on the support list instead.
Yeah, that's what I did as well. Yeah.
I think it's just like, hey, to be fair, I'm playing like for like my list mostly just considers like 4-star only teams, which is kind of cursed. But if you consider like 4-star only teams, Xingqiu, Fischl, and stuff don't do a lot of damage. So Sucrose having like all those reactions going on actually deals the most damage in his team.
That's true.
Well, yeah, 4-star only for sure. Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
like the biggest thing that like to show her strength is how many characters like Sucrose they try to make in the past few months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
They've
know,
made a lot of
like
Sucroses.
they are trying
Yeah.
super hard to make another Sucrose, but
They can-
Sucrose
they can-
is just power creeping them 4 years ago.
Like, that's the thing. They can do that, they just don't fucking want to.
Yeah, you
think-
could argue that, right? But like think about a reality where we didn't have Sucrose. All of a sudden, all the options they're giving us nowadays would actually be great.
Yeah.
I think the interesting
That-
thing
yeah.
about the other
Mizuki
options
wouldn't be
is,
dog
like,
water. Maybe. But
Now
Right.
Mizuki will still be shit. There's Hazel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
the
Hazel-
interesting thing
Hazel-
about the other carries is like they can also be drivers. They're probably worse at being drivers than Sucrose. But I think the interesting thing
Yeah.
about the other carries is they can also be Anemo damage carries, while Sucrose can't really be an Anemo damage carry.
I tried it once. It was so bad.
I tried it
I-
once too. It didn't go too well. Also tried
I
TF
didn't
Sucrose,
even
which
try it. I just
yeah.
calculated it and I could barely scrap on 400k DPS. I might as well just play Hazel.
100k. That's pretty funny. Okay, well, I do think that it's like, if you consider just on-fielder without the description, I do think it's okay to put Sucrose on here, definitely. It's very justified.
Yeah, because then you look
I-
at every other
I definitely
hyper
would've not-
carry,
I would definitely put it on there if I could.
Yeah.
and then
I
you
actually wanted
you
to say one last thing about Sucrose before we move on.
go ahead.
Think about all the teams Sucrose is being used on.
Mavuika melt, if you have Citlali there for like night,
Right.
for like the fighting spirit shit.
Yep.
There's nowadays the Nuvolet Vape for single target endies.
Mm-hmm.
There's also Arlecchino sometimes. There is who else? Oh, Moalani,
But
a goat.
okay, but like
Yep.
we aren't evaluating these teams yet, right?
You're
Because
not
they are
talking about
support
first.
teams.
That is
Yeah, those
that is
would
true,
be-
right? But like when
Yeah.
I said think about all the teams, I meant like all the teams where she actually can be the driver and the team is really good, right? Like you can play her as a driver for Fischl and Aggravate. You can play her as a driver
Yep.
for reverse melt teams. You can play her as a driver
Mhm.
for taser teams. You can play her as a driver
yep.
for like so many different teams that it just felt wrong not putting her
But the-
there when she enables so many of these teams, arguably even theoretical like ceiling for their damage.
You can
There is
even
one
play.
team.
Raulfigas?
There is one team where she's the true driver.
Who?
It's
What
called
team?
Kokomon.
I was about to say that. I was
No!
about to toss
Let's
the
go.
Pokemon, surely.
I'm gonna say one bad thing about it
It doesn't do damage.
is that well, yes. Well, yes, but so does most of the 4-stars. Anyways. The bad thing about it is the cheaters were giving every single transformative reaction to Sucrose when it isn't the case. Xiangling has nearly every single overload. Fischl has half of the EC procs. And the only overload Sucrose has is the Gooba swirls to reapply VV. That's it. Like,
Yeah.
they basically inflated it so much, but in reality, most of the transformative damage comes from Xiangling herself.
Yeah, and Xiangling
Not-
is not building for 1000 EM, so
Yeah.
And she has EM buff and shit. That's
Yeah.
good.
there was a good
Yeah.
Sucrose on-field take in the chat. Sucrose, I don't think Sucrose feels as clunky as people say she does. I agree.
Yeah.
I think Sucrose feels
Yeah.
decent on-field.
I had to fight for years with people. Oh, but Sucrose is unplayable. Sucrose is so garbage. Look at me playing Kazu and just tapping E in everyone's group. But yeah, bro, we get it. We
I
get
think
it.
it only
That's
starts feeling
actually-
clunky once you have no stamina left.
Yeah.
I think that's actually like the thing that people are like misunderstanding. When people say clunky, they don't mean the character; they mean the grouping. That's usually
Yeah,
what
but
people
that's-
mean. Like most people I've met that said she's grouping were referring to her group. Sucrose is clunky. They were referring to her grouping, not her actual gameplay, right?
And you know what's funny?
And honestly, I agree with them on one thing, which is not even the grouping; it's the burst. The amount of time I tried to get the burst to actually infuse with a certain element, but it
It's
doesn't.
so bad, man.
Like
Oh my
sometimes
God.
it feels like it has a mind of its own. Like I understand how it's supposed to work, but the enemies are not gonna cooperate with you. You're not gonna be able to like go through certain hitboxes sometimes, or like
Yeah.
auto targeting might screw you over sometimes in like let's say multi-wave or
applies
even
to-
like multi-target. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that applies
it's-
to a lot of units. Auto targeting
like the-
fucking this game.
I think like
It
the only
is
thing
dog
good
water
thing
all
about
the way
the
around.
burst really is if you play like driver sucrose in like aggravate or taser, it doesn't really matter whatever
Yeah,
it
true.
infuses, just infuses
Yeah,
and it's,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
net positive.
for sure.
I'm just gonna
But there
say
is-
one thing though.
There's also the
people
chance it doesn't absorb anything.
Saga.
for burst grouping, I'm gonna say skill issue. If her ult is not grouping,
I don't
do
know.
not use. I'm gonna say they were using that against the Geovishaps when they were in the Bispect and be like, oh, look at this shit ass grouping. I'm like, just don't fucking use it.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't do anything. Like, it does a bit of damage and then...
Hey, let's not forget the damage bonus. Come on now.
Oh, yeah, I did
That's very useful for
damage
Fischl.
bonus, you're like,
bonus.
I don't have Kuki, sadly.
The damage ones you're like
That-
never getting.
That bonds is only really useful in Taser and Aggravate comps. Not a single Vapor Melt uses it. Because you want to infuse the element that she wants to apply.
I mean,
not the
okay,
element you
okay.
want to do damage.
To be
Yep.
fair though, that is quite the opposite when you're not using her on field, which I know that's not what the list is about, but when you're not using her on field, for example, like Mavuika, it is very crucial for you to get the burst to take cryo.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're resetting
Yeah.
simple as.
And like, it's
Yeah,
not
yeah. That was what he just said. Yeah. Like you
Like,
want to
you do
infuse
that-
the you want to.
you do like
Yeah,
Bennett Q, Sucrose DQ, Sitlali E. By the time she's going to infuse, there's cryo on it. It's
Yeah,
nearly impossible to fuck it up. Unless the enemy is
Yeah.
pyro, in which, why the fuck are you playing Melt then?
No, it's even better. Just Xingqiu decides to dash away. There you go.
True.
Oh well. That's a
Okay.
boss issue. Then.
Okay, there's another character called Lynette, and I'm very happy to see her here because I love Lynette.
Oh.
Maybe Nakama can talk about the placement. Nakama, by the way, joined us. We are very glad to have you here. Nakama does 4-star Abyss runs, very solid ones. You can check them out in the description. Anyway, Nakama, do you want to talk about Lynette?
Sorry.
Sure, I can talk about Lynette. The thing is, I don't play Lynette, so I don't have first-hand experience. But like lately, I've just seen some clears, and they used Lynette as like a Anemo DPS, and she seems to be quite alright as an Anemo DPS. To be fair, I think Lynette, Sucrose, Faruzan, and Heizu are all like kind of the same rank. But
You're decent.
so like you could replace Lynette with like Heizu, would be the same kind of, but
Yeah,
still
and
I think
Aoife probably soon. Although Aoife, I don't know.
Aoife
like-
would likely be better. Even
but-
with the current C6 nerf that was completely unnecessary. Fuck you, Hoyo.
Okay, back to Nakama.
But yeah, Lynette just does her job. And I think like for 4-star teams, there's probably nothing better. But I don't know. I'm like not too deep into meta right now. I'm just chilling with like RefMed and Tasers, so I don't really have informed opinions here.
Yeah, I'm assuming since like Lynette mostly like gets to abuse Faruzan, like in 4-star only teams, getting to abuse all of
Yeah, you have-
Faruzan's buffs sounds very busted.
Yes. You can play her both on and off field with another on fielder like Heiza or Ifa. Her
No,
damage
I
isn't
knew.
very good, but it's solid enough to be better than the most.
Yeah, but this is obviously a bit of poverty TC, but who doesn't like a bit of poverty TC? Let's be honest. We all like to play some 4-star teams.
That's where the real TC matters, you know? Who cares about TC when you're doing like 1.5 mil Meltoon Mavwika, but when you need that little bit more damage so you can get Lynette to clear, that's where you need the TC the most.
Bro, I agree.
Honestly, kind of true.
Exactly.
Okay, then we're done with Lynette. Dory.
Anyone else want to take this one, guys? Come on.
No, go for it, Martin. I gotta hear this, bro. I gotta hear this justification. I played for Dory,
Alright.
and
Alright.
it just, yeah. I want to hear you talk
So-
about it.
I think the best way to explain Dory is
Mhm.
to talk about this one character that exists by the name of Sino.
Yeah. Please,
Surely.
please shoot on him. Let me shoot on him, please. Let
So
me please.
the thing about Dory, if you happen to have Farina,
Yeah.
a pretty popular character from Fontaine, and you happen to have Dory C6, which is what we're assuming here, well,
Yes.
she basically makes you question
Out
why did
damage
you
them.
pull Sino?
Yes, she basically out
Simple
damaged him. It's
She
not even
kinda-
fucking close.
Like, does what Sino does, and arguably you could say to similar power level, if not even more comfortable, to say the least.
I will
'Cause
say
he
better.
heals and he doesn't. But generally speaking, you play Dory, you give her a sack sword that allows her to have even more on field time if you wish to do so.
Not
you build
even.
her with full EM, and you have
want
someone
to-
who can do both aggravates and hyperbloom and heal for Farina. So that
It's
allows
not-
you to run another character that can also do off-field damage, like Fischl, for example. And
Yes.
you have a pretty good team that has a really good healer, and that has a healer that also is able to generate energy for the rest of your team, which means that you can lower the ER requirements on them, allowing them to go for even more damage.
Okay, now that's the thing. You don't actually need sacrificial in her. If you have 4-piece TF, you have near 100% uptime all the
Yeah.
time.
That's why I said it's an
Yeah.
option, right? Because a lot of people might not have TF. But you definitely, I agree with you. You don't have to use Sac Claymore. You can go with the damaging option, or you can go with Favonius, I guess, for the rest of your team energy.
Yeah, Dendro's so bad for Sino and move it to Overload, true.
So, like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, like, forgot about Dory because when she came out, it wasn't... She
Everyone
wasn't all that
hated
great, and people didn't have her C6. But I think after Farina, Dory is definitely on the list, for me at least. She can be a very decent option, to say the least.
I only didn't really mention her because I'm on a strike with Hyperbloom. Fuck that element. Fuck that reaction. Fuck all the Dendro blazers in the planet.
Also, bonus
Sorry.
points, if for any chance you need good electro application, she has the highest out there. Like, if you're fighting any form of, let's say, Lectors, for example, she does a very good job at destroying their shields. Not the best out there, but generally speaking, Electro is pretty good at destroying quite a few shields.
Yeah, there's that.
Actually,
She has that
also has the like fastest electro hits, right? Like for like if you play child on field in hyperbloom teams or something, I think that's something Sajef did at some point.
Are we
Oh,
talking
me
about the
too.
child Predator team?
No, shut up.
Whoa.
Okay. Maybe the
That
world isn't
fucking
ready for that yet.
Wild statement to say on a stream.
Okay. Anyway, okay, should we go into
Off-fielders?
There's Ferminet still here.
Wait,
Faruzan.
who mentioned it?
Come on, someone else had to put Ferminet in there, not just me.
No, bro, Feminine.
All right, I have a confession to make. I don't own Sethos, so I completely forgot about him. So if I'm being
Fair
honest,
enough.
I would have probably put
Yeah.
Sethos here. But here's the thing: because I don't have Sethos, I can't experiment too much from Sethos. The only Sethos gameplay I've seen is from a content creator called Saluna. He plays a hybrid build, like TF with an ER Sands, and it gives him enough energy while still having really good crit, because he has really good artifacts for TF, that he can play both charge shot playstyle and burst playstyle. And you kind of
Yes,
alternate between the two. I highly suggest if
that's
anyone
the
likes
fun
Sethos to
part.
go check out his video. He made a pretty good. He made a compelling case at least for why you could technically invest more into Sethos and allow him to have both alternative playstyles at once, so you don't have to pick and choose. But since I have Ferminet here, I've seen a few clears recently of Ferminet. It is unfortunately hyperbloom.
Oh, come on, no.
Surely.
But here's the thing. Hyperbloom is a 3-man core. You have your Hydro, you have your Electro, and you have your Dendro. And then the fourth doesn't really, like, you could argue there's a best slot with Alhaitham and whatnot, but we're talking about 4 stars. In terms of 4 stars, he doesn't do that bad. Like, we're talking about 60k when you get like the physical hit out, which I know isn't insane in our current day and age, but for a 4-star, it's not too bad, because that's 60k you're getting on top of the hyperbloom damage. He also is cryo, which could be relevant for certain bosses. For example, like the not Manshai, the Swani, yeah, the Swani boss, right? You also need cryo for another boss. I don't remember what it was that we also need cryo for. Like, there are situations where cryo can be useful. Also, freeze isn't a bad reaction. You're probably gonna shatter them, but the fact that freeze interacts with the Dendro aura and it allows you to generate a bit more cores can also be useful. So, as bad as he is and as bad as physical is, if you were to rank him in the physical hierarchy, he's not really that far off, and his damage isn't nothing. Like, I'd argue if Sethos didn't exist, I'd definitely consider Ferminet over the other options.
Over Yanfei?
Yeah, I definitely would.
Okay.
Damn, what Hyperbloom does to a person.
I mean, we're arguing damage here, right?
Yeah, bro, true Hyperbloom.
Okay, let's look at the off-fielders then. I hope everyone is hyped. I'm just trying to okay. I will click the button. Hopefully it works. Okay, it doesn't. Give me a sec. We can gasp at the list already. Glad
Wait,
to
I have a question. Did we talk about Yanfei? Or did I miss that?
We did talk about Yanfei. We didn't talk about Faruzan though, but
Oh wait, you want to talk
Yeah.
about Faruzan?
Unfortunate.
all I really want to say about
terribly
Faruzan is that I don't have C6 Faruzan on my own account, so I put it on a whale friend of mine's account, and it was very fun and very good. Well, obviously it's a whale account, so I looked at a bunch of clears because I was torn between Sethos or Sethos or Faruzan for the last, and I saw a lot of clears where Faruzan was clearing faster than Sethos. And also, Faruzan has the ability to run with Lynette. We're talking about that. What's her name? Lanyan, which is a really nice, really nice team as well. So like, I didn't put Lanyan here because it was really between Lanyan, Faruzan, and Sethos, but Lanyan was just kind of to the wayside behind Sethos. So Faruzan is pretty strong DPS and a pretty good one. She has her own self grouping, which is very nice.
Yeah.
She does pretty common damage. She has front load. She has like front load with her. I mean, yeah, it's not like amazing, but still, she has front load with the burst, so she's a very decent carry. I'd argue.
Regarding Lanyan, though, I thought Martin was going to talk about Lanyan, but
That's the thing. I wanted to, just like Kinkle was, but
yeah,
you can't do on-field Lanyan without Faruzan.
yeah. Yeah, that's what, like that was my main thing. That's why I thought I could
Like-
say Lanyon, but like Faruzan.
You can
I
kill
really
any
wanted to chill Lanya on C1, but physically it wouldn't do anything without the Faruzan, so that's why I decided to go with Faruzan. But I was gonna segue that into a Lanya on C1. Salesman.
Okay.
You can technically play both. Like you can
You
play
do play both.
Lanyon
You should
Fischl.
play both.
Yeah, you play
technically
them
have to
together.
play
That's not the
both.
team. That's the team
Because
together.
Lanyon, even with sack frag, you won't need that much field time. Like you do EQE, now what? Your best option
so
is not
short.
to on-field Farina and lose your golden troop, or to on-field Bennett and screw up your reactions. It's better to just put on Faruzan and do some charge shots with her, because her skill gives her 2 charge shots. It's relatively low cooldown. It decreases her ERK requirements. It gives more particles for your Lanyon. It's just the most sensible thing to do.
Exactly.
It's definitely worth it. I would like to talk about it a bit more, but for the sake of the episode not being stretched out too much, I guess, Kinkle, you talked about it enough.
Yeah.
Okay, then we can go over to the off-fielders, and there's a lot of Xianglings.
Oh shit! I did
there's
forget
a lot of
Kuki.
Fischls.
Holy hell! Why did I
Um,
forget Kuki? Well, shit.
No.
Okay,
See,
okay.
This is what I'm here for, Kinkle, to remind everyone about hyperbloom's existence.
I'm gonna say one thing
We're
real
forgetting
quick.
our origins.
I did not put Candace there because I think she deserves there. I put in there because I threw darts at the cardboard that had every single character printed in because I didn't know who the fuck to put in the 5th slot. There's all those 4, and then the 5th was like, I'd see the pool of like all the off-fielders, and like it's trash versus garbage versus dog piss. Like, just throw the dart and it landed on Candace. That's why she's there. I think she doesn't deserve it.
Basically, I did the same. That's why she's also there for
Wow.
me.
Wow. Wow.
What?
You guys are not taking this seriously, are you?
I will.
But-
Rosaria enables. No one likes Rosaria, man.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Can we then start with Fischl?
Yeah.
Oh wait, or did
Go
anyone want to?
I'd like to take this one. Can I take this one?
Wait, Saga. Wait, can I just say one thing? Saga, W for putting Xingqiu out there. I didn't do it, but Xingqiu. Thank you. I'm just gonna say thank you. People underrate him too much for his damage. But anyway, you go.
All right. So, Fischl. I'm a bit disappointed in you, Flip, but I'll take it for you this time.
Rose should be here.
You mentioned earlier, right, that Fischl does like about I don't remember. You said like about 50% of the EC in Skokomon. I'd argue she does the same for Electro characters in general. As in,
Yeah, because
think about all the Electro characters in the game that Fischl is just there with them, either carrying them, or being on bar of them, or being right behind.
Yes.
or being
the-
completely useless.
And this
Sorry.
character doesn't, in the slightest, have any of Xiangling's issue. She doesn't have any of the 5-star version of her field time. And she single-handedly carries an entire archetype, if not a bunch of Electro characters, by just her sheer existence.
I wouldn't say that with Auroron's existence now.
With
But-
Yeah,
Yansan's
except for the
existence
part
now,
where-
Yansan.
Where Auroron requires you to have a Hydro character or to use an Natlan character. And I don't think we have any Dendro or Natlan characters yet. So Auroron is
Nope.
locked out of that till you're forced to play Hydro, which is not a bad thing, but it's to say that you
And that's
are
why
locked out of
those
certain
archetypes end
archetypes.
up better.
Y-
Sorry.
What's better? I didn't hear you.
And that's why those archetypes end up being better. Dendro being locked to Fischl is fucked up.
Well, Dendro, I wouldn't say is locked into Fischl. It's more of certain Electro characters can be locked into Fischl when it comes to Dendro specifically, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
So
Visual drivers is like an archetype at this point.
it's just she has great 4-star options. She has great 5-star standard options and just 5 stars in general. People have this meme that like every spear is a Xiangling spear, but you could argue the same for Fischl.
Yeah.
The character has virtually no ER requirements in a lot of the teams you play her. The character is an insane generator for energy, even when we're not talking like electro resonance. If we're talking electro resonance, then it goes even more wild. She's very easy to play. She has self-sustain, which a lot of people forget. In a lot of teams, her
Yes,
being
C4.
able to heal herself can actually help a lot in some situations. She has a really good artifact set that a lot of people might have farmed, especially if they play any of the Fontanian DPSs, or most of the Fontanian DPSs, I should say. It's just,
Okay,
she's great. And she's
Martin.
been there since day one, so a lot of people should have her C6 for the most part.
Yeah,
Martin, be honest.
I
did you-
don't have my free-to-play account.
Did you just read my April's Fool's community post? Because that sounded so similar to my community post.
Believe it or not,
script
I have
ready.
not. I have not. I have not. And that's why I think your community post wasn't April Fools. It was just the truth, brother, coming out.
Okay, well, I can give my 2 cents on Fischl unless anyone else wants to.
I was gonna say something real quick about her.
Sure.
The only thing that she really consumes in a team is a team slot, in which can be a downside because there can be better team slots than her in there. But she's a unit you can just slot in and say fuck it sometimes. Like you have nothing else, you put her there. As long as it doesn't fuck the archetype completely. She will do
Also-
decent in single
Yeah.
target, but in
think
AoE
she has-
you might as well just use her on.
I think she also has like the issue of cooldowns in some teams.
She has that issue sometimes, but it's more so it gives her the flexibility of being able to fit in short and long rotations.
It's mainly 12-second rotations, otherwise you are nerfing her damage.
There are two things to just remember, like to continue in what you said. The fact that she can snapshot automatically makes her really good in any teams that have Janson or Bennett. Like
guys
it
that
already,
way.
it automatically increases her value compared to other on-fielders to some extent. And her being a bow user can allow you to do certain rotations with Chevreuse, for example, who requires like
Yes.
to do overload. And also being a bow user allows her to deal with a lot of bosses mechanic that require you to shoot an orb like the worm or to shoot their weak spots to shut them down. So that also shouldn't be overlooked.
Oh, guess who's also a bow user in this Electro?
I know there's a lot of them. We have like what, 4?
Roran.
Okay,
He's talking about Roran.
Yes, but Fischl is the goat.
True.
There's the Glazer.
Okay, Flip, what's your
Uh.
punishment for being 1 hour late?
Okay, listen. I said I was gonna be late.
You did?
I said it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did.
Punish him.
I think he
First thing
did.
I
I
said
think
in
he
the
did say,
GC, I said
Oh,
I'll
whoops.
probably be late.
Sorry.
Punish him. Punish him by making him say negative things about Fischl for at least 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yes,
I can
yes.
do that already because I wanna shit a bit on Fischl for a bit.
Whoa!
I didn't put
Wait,
Fischl
wait,
on
wait.
number 1.
There's no way you guys started at 7. Like actually started on time, right?
No,
we were
let's
like
make
5
it
minutes
so.
late.
We were
More
Let's
like
make-
Actually,
what?
we're waiting for you. Reason why we were late, but like, surely.
Okay, so why, like, I did value Fischl more before Jansan's release. I feel like since Jansan is actually alright with Clorant, like I think it's a bit underrated. Like it doesn't work perfectly before like C4, but it's good enough for me to say that it's definitely better than playing Fischl. And I just don't value like playing Veressa and Fischl together at all. I think it's very cope. And other than that, I don't think Fischl has any, like she's an okay flex slot, she does a bit of damage, but electro application isn't nearly as valuable as it was back in the day. So I just, other than like for those electro carries, which I think she isn't really the best in slot for anyone other than Kuching and Yamiko, I guess.
Yeah, so basically the terrible ones.
Yeah, for the bad ones, she's good. But yeah, other than that, I used to love Fischl, but I just don't think she does that much anymore. Like compare her to a unit like Emily, who's also just a unit to do that, like who just does damage.
Emily's one team.
It's not one team. It's any team with a consistent off-field pyro.
Emily's also
Uh-huh.
a 5-star though. Like,
And
Baron
very
4-star damage to
reliant
5-star.
on her R1. Without R1, she's really not all that great.
Yeah, and
I
without
disagree.
Polar Star Crystal's damage is also shit, true.
I don't know. I've been using Stringless my whole life, and she's hitting very, very hard.
String
And
this
I've
is
been
Yeah, I'd
using,
argue too.
I've been using Primordial Jade
Like, I
Wing Spear on my Emily, and she's been doing solid as well.
stringless.
So like
string.
that signature argument is a bit stupid. I'm sorry.
Regarding
It's not about you, it's about a lot of other people that does that. Like, yes, every single 5-star is signature local, but the 4-stars aren't.
I mean,
Like, what's
stringless
that one?
Fischl. Like, do we want to have a serious discussion about stringless Fischl? Because
She has
like,
a good 4-star, yes.
I was gonna say, because in comparison to like other weapon options, like stringless and R5 Chainbreaker, depending on teammates, are like pretty close to the 5-star weapons.
only in aggravate. Outside of aggravate, that's not
No,
the
for,
case.
for EC2 at post changes, because Fischl gets a lot of VCs, at least in
Yeah.
a single target.
And also, we're arguing that characters should have a 5-star weapon, but we're not taking into consideration the fact that Standard Banner has a really good start, like has Skyward
Ooh,
Harp for her.
Skyward Bow.
Meanwhile, there isn't really that great. Like you can use Skyward Spine, I guess, for Emily, but I don't think it's that great.
No, don't
It's
fucking
not.
do that.
It's
Don't
not.
do that.
No, but
It
if we're
doesn't
talking
need
about
to
accessibility, right, we have to take into consideration Standard Banner weapons because people are gonna have them, especially if they've been playing for a while.
I think
Yeah.
Primordial Jade Spear is like it's underwhelming, but it's okay enough on your Emily if you really don't have anything else. But
Like
I
I'll
do
give
think-
one
think
thing to Emily, the current event weapon, or like the previous event weapon,
true, that weapon
the
is
weird
fine.
looking ton spear thing. Yeah, that one is a better option, I think, than like most 4-star weapons for her. So you can kind of say that now she has a decent option, but then again, it's an event. If you haven't done it, well, you're back to nothing. For the
Yeah,
most
some
part.
of the gacha weapons, gacha only weapons are also good on Emily, but no one has the gacha 4 stars.
Yeah. Me using my non-existing Xiphos.
Okay. But
It will rerun
anyway,
soon,
I think even with fucking prototype, how's the weapon called? Like the shit one, I do think Emily
Dark
still
Glitter.
does more damage than Fischl outside of aggravate teams. I don't think
By
Fischl.
breaking your entire reaction and forcing you into burn.
That's
True.
like a given.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, Fischl is locked to aggravate. Emily's locked to burning.
You can
Life
play
is
Fischl
good.
Wow,
Wait,
and
Fischl's
burning
even
is-
more- wait, what is-
EC, you
wait,
can
what is
play
this
Fischl
Yeah,
in
Fischl's
Regarding-
not
Regarding-
locked.
Wait,
Fischl's
what?
not activate what?
Just regarding her damage. Otherwise, you can play her in other teams, of course, but she's not doing a ton
Yeah,
of damage.
but- Okay, so here's the thing. You guys are arguing her damage is great, but you're completely ignoring that it's restrictive. It's not as free as Fischl is. You can just slot in Fischl in a lot of teams and she won't stop doing damage because you don't have burning.
Yeah,
And
she will.
we're not
do-
going to pretend that burning is a good reaction now, are we?
But she won't do something worth of being there. Sometimes it's better just putting a Cinder set bot.
Which actually, okay, then you have things like Chevreuse teams in which, for barring, like, at least for the pyro DPS, barring like Malvika, it's better to run Fischl than it is to run Auroron or Eonson.
Yes, of course,
then
because
it-
he can't really trigger this shit.
Wow, and then you're playing a bio carry in a Chevreuse team, which is
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
Mavwika Overload still outdoes every single Electro.
You know, I actually
Because
saw
it's fucking
disagree.
my weaker.
I
I saw
definitely
someone
disagree.
comment-
What?
I saw
Okay,
someone
not
comment,
Varese, but everyone
Fischl-
else, yes.
Fischl does more damage without aggravate than Emily without burning. True.
That's
I
at
mean,
least
that's
true,
a
yeah.
fact, of course, but it's like
I was
did I just try to
trolling when I
someone's
said
point
this
here?
originally. I don't know how
Wait.
we're actually like debating this.
What do you mean?
Nothing.
Oh no, I wasn't really trolling.
Oh, no, because I just mentioned Emily has one team, and then this.
Oh no, Emily has really only one team.
I mean, she has
Oh,
one team where
never
she's best in slot.
Yeah, and that makes her better than Fischl. True.
How?
Fischl has multiple.
How?
She's
Fischl has
best.
so many teams you can use her in.
How many of them are best?
And also, by the way, reminder: we're arguing here about a release 4-star versus
1.0,
a 5
yeah.
star that didn't have a rerun yet.
Yeah, I'm wondering what we're talking about, a 5-star and a 4-star tier list, but I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Keep comparing her to a 5-star, bro. It's a 5-star.
That's why she's
Her.
the goat.
So how many minutes have you been into Fischl now?
Honestly true.
I want
Next
someone. I need B in here or something. What are these Fischl glazers? This entire chat is just Fischl glazers.
Only
Anyway.
makes sense
I just
to
wanna
play
say-
Fischl, doesn't it?
I want to just say what. Oh wait.
I
I
shit
was
on
gonna say, I
Fischl.
would've put Fischl.
Flip that.
My
What?
only
Wait, say that
good
again?
experience with Fischl recently was unironically playing Fischl Navia. I don't know why, but it worked.
I'm
Um,
not gonna
what?
call it.
She was doing
Yeah, because
30k
Fischl
is
per hit,
great
which
like
I
that.
was impressed with. But other than that, Fischl...
You've never seen 30k per hit on Fischl?
No, she doesn't.
Huh?
If you play
How?
Fischl as the flex slot, then she's not doing 30k.
If
Yeah,
you
she
just
is.
like snapshot Bennett and my
If you-
free to play
yeah,
account does
sure, if
does
you-
Fischl 30k.
If you let her snapshot Bennett, but in what teams are you like allowed to do that? Other than in Chevy teams?
Overload. Wait,
I just played national
soup
Fischl
teams.
today, so
Look, I
that
told
also
him
works.
soup teams. Fischl Bennett.
Oh,
I
not
have
that.
teams.
What are you guys doing with your Fischls? Are you starting the rotation with her?
I don't know what they're doing, man.
Sometimes I do.
No, I don't start the rotation with her. Like, nearly never. Unless I have no one else to.
In
Yeah,
what?
right. Like you are supposed to like delay her a little bit since she snapshots. So if you can get some buffs
Yeah.
going, you just go for
Get
it.
some buffs going, and then she does like good damage or decent damage at least.
Yeah.
Bro.
I just think
Next
there's currently in the game there's so many better slots outside of aggravate teams than like Fischl being there. So I just don't value her at all.
And that's fine. We can have different opinions depending on our teams and
Yeah.
perspective of things.
Yeah.
Okay, well I can get into why I put Xingqiu on number 1 then finally. So Xingqiu is an interesting character because
You put Xingqiu number 1 for what?
yeah, let me explain, okay?
Leech
Okay.
over Xiangling is a little weird, but I do enjoy Xingqiu Glazer.
I
so go
think
ahead.
Xiangling lost so much value after the release on after the release of Pyro main character. Honestly, that's hot take, I
Yes.
guess. But I
That's
think
not
she,
really a hot take.
yeah, I think that Xiangling without Bennett was always felt asked to play.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was horrible, and like Xiangling with Bennett is pretty good, but outside of that, meh. And like nowadays, Xiangling isn't really best in slot with a lot of carries anymore. Like Kinnick once, also technically he uses Bennett, but he wouldn't like Xiangling to be there since Xiangling doesn't really get a lot of buffs. Other than that, Clarant or something, but Clarant also doesn't really have doesn't have
Currently,
Bennett and have
Xiangling has cooldown issues.
yeah,
Currently with
that's
Xiangling has
true.
cooldown.
Honestly, barring like National and Muolani, I think I would rather always play PMC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like other than that, yeah, I just think that Xingqiu he's good in Nilu Bloom teams, which is very funny. Like I talked,
Yes.
I talked to this
0.9% usage rate Nilo. Catches.
the Nilu team was actually extremely good in like one of the last abysses, I forgot. But it was like
Yeah,
CN
the
players
Nilu
were
Abyss.
getting some insane times with like Xingqiu Nilu. It was funny. But yeah.
I actually like Xingqiu a lot.
Um,
Although I don't know if that's an argument for this, but I do like Xingqiu.
Was
Other
it like
than-
Xingqiu item or some shit?
No, it was just Yao Yao actually.
Yes. Wait, that's exactly my
Bro.
you. Wait, what's the fourth slot? Xingqiu. Wait, what's the fourth slot? Nahida?
Yeah, Nahida.
That's exactly my use. I use Zypho Xingqiu.
It's
It's
actually a
goated.
speed running team. It's pretty funny.
It's actually goaded. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Um.
he has the highest stacks of Hydro, and that pays off for the insane app that Nahida has
Yeah.
when it
Yeah.
works.
Other than that, Xingqiu is just kind of never really a bad slot. Like in the double hydro teams, you could always play Xingqiu instead of Yelan. No one does it,
Yeah.
but technically it's
No one does it.
survivability instead of
Because
damage.
your rotations are 3 seconds longer if you're using instead of Yelan.
And if you play Fischl, your rotations can be up to 5 seconds longer. Or you
Oh
only
wow,
get
we're
12
going
seconds
back
of
into the
Fischl
Fischl
backburn.
talk. Hey,
Let's
hey,
not
come
go
on,
back to Fischl.
let's keep
not.
it to Xingqiu now.
No, but I just want to say a lot of people devalue Xingqiu after Yelan came out, and I kind of hate that because he's still a really good unit. I
is a
really
good
don't
unit,
like.
yeah.
After,
You know,
Yeah.
here is a wild take from me since I have Xingqiu like on the list. There is this concept called if you have enough damage, maybe comfort is better.
yeah,
And there is a lot of scenarios where- where that is true. That is not what I'm referring to, but that is also true. The thing that people forget so much about Xingqiu is that he has damage reduction. Damage reduction is really, really good in this game, especially if you have a small amount of healing. It is so comfortable to have the damage reduction on top of the interruption to resistance. It's not full, but a lot of the
Just
Natlan
give me
characters
Lanyan.
have a solid amount of like interruption resistance. So you add in Xingqiu, and it can be basically more than sufficient for most content. And then if that wasn't enough, he proceeds to be the best hydro applicator out there. On top of also being a character that you can get from multiple sources in the game, so you can get his constellation is relatively easy.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that I think sells Xingqiu in our current day and age more than Yelan. A lot of the bosses that were introduced that have
But you
pyro
think Xingqiu
shield
is better than
can be
Yelan?
targeted. Yes, I'm saying there are scenarios where he can be better, which is, for example, against the crab.
I do agree with that.
The crab,
Yep.
Xingqiu is just so much better than Yelan, unless you don't mind actually doing charge shots with Yelan, which is, definitely a choice. Another thing that people don't realize, the Natlan dragon that flies up and like turns into a smaller version of himself?
Oh, thank God, you're
Xingqiu can
going to talk
target
about the fact that it's like super easy to take down, even if you're not using like Korean and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
like
yes,
with
yes.
Xingqiu, you can, especially if you have like someone like Sucrose, for example, it's like the most aberrant with Sucrose. She's not the only one, but Sucrose plus Xingqiu, they 100% target that guy. He's not going anywhere. Every single sword hit will basically land on him if you just stand in the correct spot. So, and also, here's another thing that Xingqiu can do that I'm not sure if Yelan can do or not: shut down the Iron Drake. I've seen a lot of insane like speedruns where they just use the Xingqiu swords to shut down the Iron Drake. So
Yes, you can do that.
Yelan
I've
could
done that
also
once.
just like
Yelan just
it.
stunned it from the beginning,
Yeah,
though. I
Yelan
mean, I
is
feel
a
like
full user, though.
non-point because Yelan just stuns it from the beginning, but like, sure.
yeah, you can, but like my point is there are certain scenarios where for some reason the targeting for Xingqiu is coded better than targeting for Yelan, and I'm not sure if that was intentional or not intentional. But the point is,
It's intentional. Xingqiu's fuck, I don't know how to explain. I forgot how it works exactly. Xingqiu's come from the top. Yelan's is like from a lower angle than Xingqiu's
Yeah.
is.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. So there can be scenarios where you would literally choose Xingqiu over Yelan, even if you have a more invested Yelan, just because of checks like that for bosses. And yeah, he heals a little bit, which again, it's not a lot, but it can sometimes make or break the run.
The only thing of why people don't really mention him much is that while that good hydro application is a good thing, how many units needs that much hydro to
Yeah.
work?
And I was gonna mention that
Byro
we're at the current
lectors
moment we're in
and
a-
all the Byro shields in the game.
It's
That is
good
only
for shield
really-
breaking, yeah.
only really the shield checks.
It-
It's only really the shield checks, and outside of that, his application is just there.
If
Xingqiu
you
is
don't-
pretty
Yeah.
good at breaking like the Wolf Lord's thingies, like the quasi
Yeah.
spawn.
Yeah,
Well,
there's also
yeah.
that, and
um,
that's pretty much it. Pretty much shield checks.
and regarding another aspect of Xingqiu, which I next patch there's a certain character that will come out, perhaps with a weapon that buffs team-wide attack, and I think we should be reminded that team-wide attack buffs don't apply to Yelan, but they do actually apply to Xingqiu.
You know, I
So,
actually
exactly.
wanted to mention that after at the very end, but good thing you mentioned it and not me.
I think
Now-
it helps. Obviously, it's never reaching Yelan, like C0R1 Yelan, but it's
But it can close the gap.
yeah, it can help close the gap, and I think
Also,
that's
another
nice.
thing that people forget is that we have a very good amount of like decent 5-star options for swords that people might have, and at C6
Yeah.
the CR requirements do drop a little bit, especially if you're running double hydro, for example. Then you can like afford
Yeah.
to run Mist Splitter on him, and then he does like some pretty considerable damage, especially if you can react it.
Yeah,
Yeah, people undervalue
Use it
Xingqiu damage a
exactly,
lot.
but yeah, Mist is also
think it-
available.
I think another upside of Xingqiu is, I know it's like 4-star TC again, but like if you look at the 4-star roster, like Xingqiu is actually just like the kind of only Hydro replicator. You always
Yeah.
have Kandaku, but like
they
Kandaku is like
haven't
meh.
released a single Hydro.
True.
Yeah, Hydro. Until Candace, they didn't release anything, and past Candace,
Yeah.
they haven't released anything either.
They won't give us 4-star
Hydro-
Hydros for whatever
Yeah.
reason.
Also, technically, because it's
What do you mean, Mia?
it's screwing with my head, Barbara. I know we shouldn't mention her, but technically
no, no.
Barbara exists for application.
I think she's pretty
Lamar.
solid in like Bloom teams and stuff, and like
Yeah.
Fridge, if you
She's
can pull it
very
off,
bad.
and if the Abyss allows it. But if the Abyss doesn't allow it, and it's pretty hard to pull off, I think. So
Yeah.
it is hard to pull
most
off.
of the
and-
time, she isn't the option.
Yeah, just for speedrunning in Nilo teams, you would never use
She also has
Barbara
some
these
nice
days.
Frost Fridge teams, but like
Not the
they need
rich
at least 3 enemies in Abyss to work. Like
they-
else, you don't have a chance.
Imagine they didn't nerf Barbara though. That would
Dude,
be-
Those-
she would actually been
those
a
who-
decent character if they didn't.
Yeah. Okay. I think I can like I think my take is justified with how much we talked about Xingqiu now,
Mhm.
and we can go over
Mhm.
the other over the other Xiangling.
Shit.
So
I was
about
gonna say, I only
Over
put
the other
I'm
character,
just gonna
Xiangling.
tell one thing. Xiangling having access to double hit on many matchups can seal the difference as like an off field for some overload characters over Mavuika most of the time because of double hits. And it can happen a lot, especially with Vareta that moves way more than Clorinda. Clorinda has time issues, but the rest can just use her very easily.
Yeah.
Another thing I think that people forget about Mavuika versus Xiangling, for those who say that Mavuika is infinitely better. As much as I hate Xiangling's ZR, it's not like you're gonna burst on Mavuika in every single team out there. There's a lot of teams where you just won't be able to burst every rotation. Unless
Yeah.
you have C1. Which, you know,
can also add up in overload that she can actually snapshot Janssens as well. So that can seal the deal a bit for
I mean,
overload.
Yeah,
we'll
but
talk
20-second
about Mavuika.
rotations.
Mavuika probably she can also like technically slapshot the Janssen. But
Yep.
maybe that's not what you're referring
It's,
to.
it's
I
a
don't-
longer rotation, but it's not unusable. Only really in Clorinda, because her cooldown is fucked up.
I don't understand why Flip is constantly mentioning the cooldown thing as if Fischl doesn't have a 25-second skill cooldown.
We gotta move on from the official topic, guys, please. Please.
Back away from the official. With one thing I just want to say is that the only reason why I put Xingling over Fischl is just because Xingling's damage potential is very high. Especially when you get to an account like mine, which is very, very claim invested, you can
I
make
do
Xingling
agree,
do very
yeah.
stupid things. Also, no one mentions it, but Xingling against Hydro infused enemies is the funnest fucking thing in Genshin because she can react on every single hit in her kit. Her charge
That's
attack
every
will, like,
pyro character
eh,
in the game.
And
no, but
against
like,
two,
I mean,
you
maybe
can
with
double.
Tao, but like, I'm talking about like ICD wise. She has no ICD on everything,
Oh,
like everything. So you just kind of end up doing a ridiculous amount of damage,
So
like
And in
100k
today's
global hits,
day-
100k pyronados, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of fun.
in today's days, with all the tools we have and the teams she can fit in, her only real downside is energy issues.
That's always been her really only downside, to be honest.
I wouldn't say it's
Yes.
her only downside because here's the thing. It's not like by you building energy, she does a bazillion damage. You want energy
Yeah, no.
and you want every other stat in the
Well,
game.
yeah. I mean,
Right?
that's
It's
part of the issue,
as
though.
As a support, her only downside is energy issues. As a damage dealer, there's different, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I guess if you're building her only for support, but at that point you can argue the other like off-field pyro
Yeah,
applicator
yeah.
aren't that far off. Like if we're ignoring
Yeah.
damage altogether, we could just argue Daya gives you resistance to interruption.
hmm
Day is a bit difficult, but it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
She has
And like in
application issues
situations where
sometimes,
let's say they're throwing Y-ups, because I'm paranoid about the Y-ups energy drain mechanic. Like imagine a scenario where they're throwing like at you Y-up after Y-up after Y-up, like in 3 waves of Y-up, for example, hypothetically. They would just be
That's
so
weird.
much better. Like if you want
Every
pyro
single
application.
burst
It's a weird hypothetical though. It's a weird.
I know,
hypothetical.
but I'm just saying, like Y-ups existing in general, being able to just take
Yeah.
away your energy, like automatically screws over Xiangling really, really hard.
To be fair,
It
it
screws
costs
up
like half the
every
cast.
single character that needs their burst, except Mavuika because Lamau, I don't use energy. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot,
As long as
a
you
lot
just
of the newer
deal
characters
enough-
just use their E damage.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you just deal enough damage, you get your burst back anyway. So I don't know if Y-ups are that.
If
big
you
of
can
an
break
issue.
the shields
Yeah,
before
you
your
control your
stuff
energy
run
back.
out, which isn't very
Yeah.
hard.
It's not. Most characters can do it even without like crazy damage. So
Have we had a Y-up on like the third chamber? Because I agree with you guys on the first chamber. Let's say
We
even
had
second. But
before on the first
yeah, we did.
first debut
Yeah.
of a wave.
12-3-1. Yeah, 12-3-1.
Oh,
on
yeah,
Abyss,
yeah,
we
yeah,
had-
true,
we
true,
did have
true.
the way up there. That was the first time we had a way up in Abyss, I believe.
But it
I
was
feel
the
like that
first
one was
wave.
more tricky though, right? Like than the current one.
But it
Don't
was
you
It
the
was the
think
first
trial
it's
one, I
wave.
believe. Yeah, it was also the first wave too.
So it was so much manageable. If you can just do the rotation like 3 seconds, you have no issues.
The issue is if you start without energy, there is no way you can
Which-
funnel anything.
Yeah,
Well,
And,
then
like,
that's an issue mostly, or overkill.
Okay.
I mean, like when you're having lectures before the way up, kind of hurt. That 12-1 we currently have is a situation where it could be like that if you're trying to play a lot of amount of
The
application.
shield.
Okay, enough
Yeah.
bio TC. We can talk about Fischl
I have
next, I guess.
Can I have
Fischl,
a word?
not
What?
Fischl.
We already talked about her.
Fischl.
Can I have a word about Xiangling? I would just want to say I like about Xiangling that you can just play Bennett Xiangling and put any other 2 characters and you have a team.
Yeah, that is.
And
nice,
about
yeah.
Xiangling, another thing, she adapts easy in single target and AoE compared to like the other 2 we just talked about,
Yeah.
which is Xingqiu and Fischl.
I'm not gonna lie, there is a lot of scenarios where I wanted to test like a character, like isolate a character damage, like let's say for example Xingqiu, right? Like what would you do if you wanted the maximum amount of Xingqiu damage? And the first thing that comes to my mind, Mavuika doesn't have enough application. Toma doesn't have enough application. Every character basically
Yep.
doesn't have an application. If you
Yep.
want to vape as much as possible, it's Xiangling. And I don't remember what was the other character that
vape
also
Xingqiu.
like wanted to vape as much. Like there's a lot of scenarios where not a lot, but there are few scenarios where her application just makes it so she's the only option basically.
There's
If, like-
there's quad melt Chongyun, which needs a lot, but that's
Yeah.
another topic.
Okay.
Quad vape Xingqiu, oh my god.
So you don't
Yes.
want to talk about Fischl, I guess, anymore.
Yes,
We already
remove
talked
three-
about it,
no.
It seems like you really like Fischl, Saga. You wanna talk about why you like Fischl? Because you seem to really want to talk about him.
I should make
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
No one's suggesting, but you are. But
I mean, you made a whole boast about it. I feel like that's enough.
yeah. I mean, you did. Yeah. You made
Yeah.
like Fischl with like a massive essay talking about Fischl, bro. I think bro likes Fischl.
Okay, fine, we can talk about Auroran. Flip, you put Auroran second place. Why did you do that?
What,
Not
as in,
judging.
why did I put,
Yeah, why
I
did
as
you
in-
put him high? I'm interested.
put him high?
Yeah,
he's the second
Yeah, everyone
place.
else had him low.
I mean, I'm just gonna say because he's
Hey, third
very.
place is not low. Sorry.
I was gonna say he's valuable for EC teams and he's valuable for overlay teams, assuming you're using Movwika on the team, and both of those are really strong teams. He's very easy to use. You just EQ with him. He regenerates energy, which is
And
very
the
nice.
fun-
And makes
Sorry.
building your on-fielder more comfortable. He holds weapons like Elegy very easily, and he also is able to buff your on-fielder by giving 30% attack.
that's
I don't know,
easy.
he's just a
Yeah,
very
these all sound like,
good
These all sound like
character.
official points, except for the Mavika
Just
part.
the
This one
He's
sounds
scroll
just a
official
very
set
points.
good,
invalidates
unintrusive
Fischl.
character.
Can we ban the word Fischl?
I'd love to ban that.
I feel like we're not gonna move on from that until we ban it.
That's why she's the goat.
Oh, by the way,
True.
we forgot to do polls. Wait, does everyone remember does
You can just
everyone
go
have
back to it.
does chat have the on-fielder tier list in mind? Maybe I should show it real quick.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
show
got
real
scared
quick.
first. I only missed the on-fielder tier list, which was just like bombing first. Thank God.
Oh, why did you put
Yeah.
Noelle? Martin also did, but Flip, do you have an explanation why you put Noelle in second place?
She's a
Purina.
driver. She's like she can just get carried by off-field units.
Yeah, but
But then if
the
you didn't care about
description-
off-field, but that in the description, brother.
What?
I
Well,
think
it says
they're
who do the
referring
most
to-
of, if not all.
You
the
might
team's
or may have
damage.
not ignored the description of what an on-fielder
I
is.
may not have read the description.
You might want to reread it.
It says characters that are on field and do most of, if not all, the team's damage. If Noelle's a driver and only a driver, she's not doing that. So
you can only do 4. Oh no. Okay, who's
I'm
sacrificing?
surprised you guys didn't like talk about Pyro MC as one of my DPS.
I mean, like other people had it. I had it.
We
I
talked
had
about it.
I got it.
Oh,
It's
damn.
just kind
So-
of like
We-
a pyro on-field bot, so it's obviously going to be good since pyro has so much access to so many good teams.
You know what's funny? Like
We did
I'd say
mention
like
Pyro
4
and
months
Tommy
ago,
as a
Pyro
theory.
was not that good.
Yeah,
Then slowly came out, and then everything changed.
this is just the region of pyro, I guess, perhaps.
Maybe.
Yeah. The thing about like just constant people saying that like certain animals are better than others, I feel like at the end of the day it just goes down to Abyss, right? Like if tomorrow we
Oh, yeah.
start getting like AUE Abysses after another, one after another, all of the sudden, well, you know, the Taser is great, Freeze is great if they allow us to like group characters, you know, like it really depends on the Abyss rather than I think it depends on the units themselves to a big extent. Because it doesn't
Uh-huh.
matter how good Pyro is if like most enemies have 60% bio resistance.
But you can extrapolate it to like the frequency of where we get certain abysses. Like how often do we get a fully AoE abyss? Like the last
Yeah.
one we got was when we got in ages. So like if you think about it that way.
A bit
That's
nowadays.
essentially
different.
what I'm trying to say, right? The Abyss dictates like what are considered quote unquote good elements more than the characters
Well, yeah.
themselves.
I mean, to an extent, yeah, I could say yeah.
To an extent, yes.
I would argue said Lolly really like pushed Pyro forward.
So Lolly's the goat. That's I've been saying this.
I think everyone agrees that they hate the fact that Sololi just kind of
What?
So Lolly was more
Oh.
meta defining than Mofuika.
Oh yeah, I think that was. If anyone disagreed with that, that's what I was saying when I. That's why I went for because Sololi cons more than Mofuika cons. Mofuika C2.
Especially for like
after.
whale territory, Sidlali was like so extremely shifting.
So you
You
can
know,
talk about the fact that Lolly C2 rivals other main DPS of C2.
I no, it literally like when I was calculating it, I
Yes,
was in a Discord call and I lost my mind when I was like, dude, what 40 to 60% damage increase when you put them together? What the fuck?
That's why she's
Yeah,
the
no.
goat.
C to Lolly
fucking
C2,
crazy.
in my opinion, is probably the worst C2 we have in the game in terms of the amount of stuff it does.
It's just fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Like-
makes sense.
And then
I
our
had a
C1
running
also gave a bunch
joke
of flat
with,
damage, which is also pretty nice too.
It's about
I
time we
had
get
a
good
running
things.
joke with my friends that what basically C to Lolly does is C1 you get a free Shunha, C2 you get a free Nahida burst.
Literally, that's how I thought about it. Well, I think about the
Right.
Shunner, but then hit apart for
Not
C2,
even
like
just
literally.
a free Nahida.
Like
You get also free VV because it goes to
Yes.
40%.
It's
and it's
freaking
like-
crazy.
her quills might not be as strong as like Shunhi's quills specifically for cryo, but the fact that it applies to everything. Xingqiu,
Yeah.
Anemo, Dendro, it doesn't matter. She just gives
It's-
that buff to any on-fielder. And
Yeah,
like-
her C1 is decent, but it's there. It's a damage boost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and one thing that people forget that unlike spear users, you have sac frag. So in teams where you don't actually care to burst, like you're not benefiting that much from cryo, you can just give
Yeah,
her
you
sac
have
frag, which increases her EM, so it increases the C1 damage, and it allows you to generate more bolticles, and it refreshes the field, the shield, and it gives you more stacks on top. So like
And it
characters that
gives
can,
you the field. The
Yeah.
cryo application as well.
like it's just so good. But again, we're talking about 5-star cons and 4-star tier list podcast.
Next 4-star.
I guess
So
I guess
what was
one
that?
one hot take that has been like in my mind recently is I think Hydro is not supposed to get like Nouvillette, basically just Nouvillette is not supposed to get the best in slot team apparently, because they are shifting it around with like first it was Yelan, then it was Hilali, now it's Escoffier.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I'm leaving the call. No, we're not doing
Escoffier
this.
Maybe-
will likely make him playable in single target without vape,
Yeah,
which is big.
but I think none of these like options are like outstanding for Nouvillette, so he might like Hydro
Escoffier
might.
Nuvula is the most
Till
overrated
the
thing.
next patch.
I do agree. It is overrated because I don't think like outside of single target it's good for Nouvillette, but it's
Yes,
still like it's still one
not.
of his good teams. I can't deny that.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the thing.
I'll accept that.
And
Alright,
I think
should
yeah, I was just going to say maybe Nouvillette gets another support, which would be funny. But yeah,
yeah. Should we
okay.
move on to the next like thing?
Yeah, we have Pyro main character. I put him on the fourth. I put him on the
I'm
fourth
not seeing it.
option.
Scroll.
Yeah, it's just scroll, and I think the C1 is actually kind of big for Moalani and Moalani and Kinnick and
Just Natlan in general.
yeah, just Moalani and Kinnick. But those are like their
also-
main. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say full EM Pyro MC is good.
Yeah, and that's true. Like he doesn't really do a lot of damage just with crit, but you can always do full EM.
It's good for shove stuff.
Yeah, other than that, Moalani is just very broken, so that's why.
Yeah, Mualani is Mualani.
And not playing
Yeah.
Xiangling with Moalani, like the fact that it's viable instead of Xiangling,
That's the
like
thing with Mulani. She applies Hydro on the blue moon. You can work with like almost every pyro in the game. Even fucking Xingqiu, if you don't break the shield.
I really liked the Mualani on face speedruns.
yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah, those beyond Mualani Yanfei is very fun to do.
Okay, but like other than that, Pyro main character is just a Pyro bot. Like that's the main reason. But I think everyone other than that is like the first three are pretty good, and then it's kind of like whatever regarding
Yeah.
outfielders.
Is it?
I probably would have put PMC instead of Rosario if I had thought about it for a sec. I don't have PMC on my own account, so I've never fully tested it. I just know it.
What do you
Thank
mean you
you.
don't have Pyro MC?
I don't do story, okay?
I don't have the freak. Do you even need the story for part main character?
Don't you need to do
you
the story if I'm just dumb? You
You
do.
do,
You have to
you
do the
do.
last bit of Natlan, right?
Oh, I
I haven't
forgot.
done it yet.
I forgot Varessa. Pyro main character is good for Varessa, and if you don't have
Forever.
if you don't have
Varessa.
Maverick and you don't want to play Bennett.
I was about
What
to
do
say,
you
right?
do?
Like I feel like Bennett is better there, but fair enough.
Yeah.
I do have a question though
Impact.
for you, Kinkle. Like, I wanted you
Mm-hmm.
to explain Rosaria to me. Like, I understand that you would have put BMC in hindsight, but like, why did you choose Rosaria, for example, over Diona? Let's say.
Double cryo.
Downa, well, double crowd of that, but also Downa I just feel her application isn't that great for a lot of. Like, she's great for
That's true.
like her crowd application isn't very weak, and for
Diona
mouse setup, it's.
rotations.
And also, I consider Downa more of a support than an off-field for application, so I would have. That's the reason why I didn't think of Downa, but
They're both
I just put Rosaria
perfect,
because yeah, but like, I don't know.
but Rosaria
Rosaria
is
does
more
the-
memorable because it ticks faster. And Diona extends rotations.
Yeah,
Because
I
for
mean, if
me,
you have
I
like
guess
a really
I
strong
was-
power. I was gonna say if you have a really strong power curve like say Mafuika and you don't have Sitlali, I'd argue Downa's probably better there. But like if you need like actually pretty good car application and not you don't have a front load ability, Rosaria's pretty decent.
Yep.
She does decent damage and she applies decently. She's okay, right?
Yeah, and the other side of Rosaria is Kea, true. And Nakama put Kea in the fourth slot. Nakama,
Yeah,
would you
Kea
like?
and Rosaria is just the same character.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
if you
really
get
just
Team
basically
Kea,
the same.
he's a bit better, I guess.
Aya is
But
just
Yeah.
better all the time. at C6, unless you're looking at the C6 R5 Constellation route. Kaya's just better.
How high is the Kaya Coffee team in terms of damage? Does anyone know?
I know
I
it
have no clue.
should be around close to 90, not quite breaking 90, but around like 80 to 90k.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
kind
that-
of
that-
That's like
is about
80k
real.
DPS.
Okay, what's the comp?
For reference, we're talking about Nouvellette damage.
yeah, that's kind of crazy.
You know, let that sink in.
What? I don't want to let it sink in. What did the sink do? Anyway. Okay,
Guys,
okay,
knock
no,
at your door.
Kaya, Rosaria, we already talked about Auroran, right?
Yes.
Is there anyone?
I
yeah,
guess. Kuki
Conductor.
Shinobu,
Or Kuki.
or yeah.
Yeah,
No,
Shinobu
no,
is
no,
frauding
let's-
here. I'm gonna be someone.
Can we skip Kuki, please? I don't want to talk about Dendro. I don't want to say anything positive about that fucking element. Please skip Kuki. Please.
Hyperbloom is a good team.
Dude, fuck
we
Dendro,
should
bro.
talk about it.
Fuck every single blazer of Dendro, bro. But okay, go ahead with Kuki.
Should
Ready to get it
I
off his chest.
talk about it since I have it the highest, I suppose?
Yeah, just go for it, man. You know,
Okay, so you do 30 to 35k with a single missile from
Yeah.
Hyperbloom. You get to do
Yeah.
2 of those. They're single target, but well,
seriously
a lot of the
talking
checks in
about
the game are single
Hyperbloom?
target. The build investment isn't nearly as bad as trying to look for perfect artifacts with crit. You just want as much EM as
Yeah.
possible. She can hold pretty good weapon options, like Key, for example. She has a bunch of craftable weapons that just give her EM. She heals on top of doing all the damage that she does, and her burst is pretty good at doing a lot of like electro hits, as well as nowadays when we have Natlan shields, it does a very good amount of hits in general to destroy the Natlan shields. She, for a lot of people, is the only real the Hyperbloom option, because a lot of people don't want to switch their Raiden into a Hyperbloom build. And generally speaking, for quite a few people, if you're not like doing the most optimal application with both Dendro and Hydro, Kuki is more than enough. Like the difference between her and Raiden is not gonna be there if you take into consideration that Raiden doesn't heal and Kuki does. And you could argue that even in aggravate teams, she's not that bad, because our AUE electro applicators in aggravate aren't that great. So being able to fill both the healer slot and an AUE, to some extent, AUE electro application is not bad. And
So your
yeah.
AoE Electro application is Kazuha.
True.
except for the
Aggravate
board
Kuki.
when you're playing Dendro, so Kazuha doesn't really help with that. But
I mean, if you're playing an aggravate team,
Yeah, you are playing Kazuha.
yeah, for aggravate, true. I guess I'm thinking more about spread.
yeah.
But
Okay,
yeah, no, like
okay, can I- Yeah.
she's a good character, especially for the fact, like, I know we're considering C6, which I guess is helpful in case, you know, she was supposed to die, she doesn't die. But like, it's also fair to mention that she's pretty good at lower constellations. Like, her constellations are not required, and they don't really
Or
change that much
C2.
outside of her C2.
You need C2, yeah.
C2. Yeah,
Yeah,
C2. Yeah, C2.
Okay, but I didn't put Kuki here, and that's just because I don't personally value Hyperbloom nearly as much as I used to. I just think the team just fell kind of just fell off, in my opinion. I know it has like the poverty upside, but I just, from my game perspective, that is something that I don't value. And I think Kuki would actually be a very interesting character if her healing was like actually good, because like at
Living kill herself.
yeah, also that the
Her
fact that she
healing is
kills herself,
In my opinion.
her healing is, for Farina teams, it is not good, and especially because
Well, not
she-
for Farina teams, but yeah.
you really want C1 or like C2, but like even with C1 it already helps a lot on Farina if you want to play the Hythem team. Otherwise, I think playing Yelan or Xingqiu is unironically just better. And at
I'm gonna
that
be
point,
real.
I don't. think
I mean,
the Al-Haytham team is that
I'm
good.
a, I
if
feel
I
like
can say something about the Al-Haytham team, you can always just run prototype Ember Nahida because you're not going to be getting consistent spreads. So Nahida's damage is not as important. And the tandem of both Kuki and Nahida with prototype Ember can get you a decent amount of fanfare for Arena.
Okay, well, isn't Nahida still like how much is she of the team's damage? I forgot.
Like in again, like I'm assuming we're using Farina here. Her hydro application, while it's inconsistent, at times you're just not gonna get any spreads.
Yeah, I mean that's why the team is bad. Oh well, no, I mean I meant like
I can sense the Dendro heat. But yeah, no. I mean, she's definitely not a Natlan support. But for how early she was, reminder, she came out before Samaro even existed. I don't think she's doing too bad.
We can stop talking about Kuki now. I feel like we've entertained this long enough.
Hey, I just want to say I like hyperbloom. I think the main issue with hyperbloom in like 4-star teams is if you play hyperbloom, you use Xingqiu basically, and with Xingqiu you just have better teams most of the time. But else hyperbloom is pretty comfy choice.
Wait, Nakama, why did you put Xiangling over Xingqiu? I'm very disappointed. What the fuck?
Why did I put? Well, the thing with Xingqiu is like, I play him on Taser most of the time, and he's like the guy who does the least in Taser. Like he just deals the least amount of damage.
Wow, and now we are just looking at damage. Now,
But like in general, like in Taser, he's a great unit, right? Like he's there for Hydro. He's like there for
defensive utility.
utility. You just don't die in Taser. Like it's basically impossible to die because of Xingqiu. But Xiangling is just like you can feed so much into Xiangling, and at some point she will start doing damage.
Because she's a chef?
Wait.
Well, that's probably also true. So yeah, I just like Xiangling a little bit more lately because I don't know, Bennett Xiangling core just always felt pretty strong.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Well then we should move on. Oh wait, Candace.
Kandake.
Do we need to talk about Kandake? Yeah. She's very pretty. I will say. She magically disappeared from my list because I forgot a few things about Auroron. So Auroron made it into my list. But
Trading out like the prettiest 4-star for the most hideous looking thing in the game.
Wow, the Auroron hate. No one understands Auroron.
How Auroron looks? What the hell?
Hmm?
Wait, Flip doesn't like how Auroron looks.
Hey man, it's not
No?
his fault.
Cool.
It's not his fault he was born that way, alright? He's trying to hide it as well.
Wait, what if I'm so confused right now.
We like how Auroron looks? I might.
Like, do you think he looks cool, or do you think he looks stupid?
He's
Like,
ugly.
Guys, I think
What?
we're
Ugly.
fields crafting here. Can we stick to actual theory crafting?
okay, that's my fault.
Okay,
Looks
well,
graphic, it's crazy.
Raulfigas, do you want to talk about Candace? I can talk about Candace actually. I have some positive things to say. Okay, I will just go on. Candace works like honestly pretty well with Mualani if you don't have C6. If you do have C6, just you are forced to use Xiangling, and I think that's bad honestly, and it's annoying. So if you want to play Candace and Mualani together, just don't activate C6. But other than that, she has like her 40% damage buff, and that's I guess kind of it. But she enables Hydro Resonance, and
Allows Mualani's first every rotation.
yeah, that's true. She also has like hydro particles. And other than that, you can play her Nilo Bloom teams with C6 only, which is funny. But yeah, if you want to play Mualani and Nilo Bloom with Kandake, you are forced to play Xiangling, which I'm sorry. Bennett-less Xiangling. I don't think like that's what I mean. Anyway, like outside of that, Kandake is ass. Like, she doesn't do anything.
I mean, Arlecchino.
I
There's
kind of have to
Arlecchino,
disagree
I
with
forgot.
that because Arlecchino.
Arlecchino. Yeah, oh my god.
Arlecchino is
Calm
pretty-
down.
Yeah, Martin, like, huh? So that's it?
No, because like I'm waiting for him
But
to
I don't think
mention
that-
like the Arlecchino, and I'm like, what?
I don't-
She's done. You're
I
done.
was about to say the Arlecchino. Okay, calm down. Anyway, outside of Arlecchino, Mualani, and Nilo Bloom, she's ass. but in Alekino teams, I would call the team better. Is the team better than Overload though?
Hey, okay. I can say one more thing. Please don't hate me for this. Hydro Blunch the look.
Okay, moving on.
But like, Bennett,
That's a crazy team idea.
yo,
It's
no.
actually not that bad. It's actually good. You get to have the higher multiplier. You know, you play Nahida, you play Candice, you play the Luke, you play
Nahida?
Bennett.
Oh,
Yeah, you get the
Nahida?
burning. You get the burning going, and you get 250 M. It's not bad.
but you
And you get
the
TDDS
higher
and
multiplier.
UM on top.
You also get the Hydra multiplier if you do melt.
Okay,
That is
Anyways,
true, but we're assuming you don't
support-
have
support-
like you know
no,
that
support-
option available.
support.
Let's say,
Yeah. Bro, the poverty DC.
like okay, think about
yeah.
it like this: you're fighting an enemy with high bio resistance. The Luke is like, I don't care, I'm Hydro now. Simple as. All you have to do is just change his goblet.
Okay,
Sure,
I think if Skirk, imagine like Skirk was like a character, which they honestly they should do at some point, like
Imagine
a
if
character.
Skirk was the character. I think she is.
Like no, that can like that needs to use her normal attacks, but the normal attacks aren't infused, so you have to like if you infuse them with Hydro, it would do something, and then she also maybe works well with normal attacks. Then you could play Candice Skirk, and it wouldn't be like completely bad. But other than
Honestly,
that,
Candice Skirk might be good because she's
But Candice Kirk is
You get your
Sophia.
impact TC.
yeah,
Let's
Candice
go.
Skirk is Sophia.
Maybe.
I can honestly see it.
seeing, yeah, it
Uh,
could
Ben-
be good.
Wait, I just want to answer a question quick. Someone asked, does Bennett override the Hydro? With Candice, no. Bennett does not override him.
Since
And this
Hydro-
overrides Bennett, actually.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, do we have any other character to talk about? There was one character that didn't make it into my list because I was like debating. Wait, is that? Oh wait, that's Kuki. Okay. Anyway, let's go
You're
to the supports then. Oh wait, we need to do the poll. Who wants to like engage in the poll? Who wants to participate? I mean.
I will
Since it
participate.
can only be 4.
I mean, I guess I won the first one, so you can count me out on this one if you want to balance things. I don't mind.
Yeah, we do it though. Do it that way, I guess.
And Kinkle, Nakama, Flip, and Wolf. Okay.
Wait, how am I not winning?
Well, let's just say you weren't here to defend Fischl and someone else had to do it. That's how.
Oh no, it's fucked up again. I'm sorry, Nakama. I missed the coding apparently. Anyway, interesting. Bennett, Flip put Iansan on number 1. Interesting. Nakama, what is Xiangling on
What?
number 1?
Flip!
Oh my god, you have some
Why am I
explanation to
being
do.
called that?
Why would you put Eonson over Bennett? It's crazy.
Whoa, relax.
You don't
Nah, bro,
understand.
I
Me and Kinkle have been wanting to talk about Eonson for 2 weeks
I
now.
can't. No.
That was such an intense reaction. That's the most emotion I've ever seen in Kinkle.
You should watch my polls. I had a lot more emotion there.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
your
dude.
breast bolts were insane.
Oh
Did
wait.
I
Wait,
explain
what the hell was
Eon
Zhangling
wrong?
there?
Yes,
Oh, wait, no,
it's
that's the wrong
C,
list
not
again.
D.
I
I
was
was
like,
about
what
to
the
say,
fuck?
what is Xiangling the best support?
Honestly, true. The 10% attack that Goba gives you is amazing.
So true. Okay, now
You also have resistance shred. Don't forget that.
That too,
I
yeah,
love
yeah,
picking
yeah,
the chili
yeah.
pepper.
Power
I
Red
love
Shred.
picking the
That's
chili
right.
pepper. I love picking the chili pepper.
Okay, Flip, you've been attacked by the Bennett community. What is Jansan?
The BBC
Wait,
community.
you also have 15% pyro damage.
That too.
The Bennett best character community.
BBC is crazy.
Okay, can you like do the take already?
Yeah, I think. Okay, because you got. Okay, because looking purely supportively, Eonson is just the strongest buffer in the game. Even if you don't have RC6, even with RC6, scroll plus the amount of attack she gives, plus another 30% on top of that. She is just the strongest buffer in the game, and her movement gates are a lot less punishing than what we assumed. Even if you fall below 42 night soul points, first, you still get a pretty strong attack buff. Second, you could just build enough attack to where you're still getting the maximum attack buff regardless. So her movement requirements almost don't really exist. So she works with practically every attack skiller.
That's not my experience.
No,
Yeah,
what do you mean?
Not mine
I am
either.
shocked for words. I just heard some stuff that I what?
No,
Even if you just build enough attack, you don't.
that is
even if
true.
you
What I'm
fall
saying.
below
That's
89
true.
points, you still get the maximum
If
attack
you-
buff. That's my
If you fall below to a certain extent, you will still get the maximum.
If you have
But that's
like
like a lot of attack. If
30%
you have
attack flower.
C5, if you have
yeah,
like
she
C5,
gives
that's
herself
very hard
attack,
though.
and you also have attack. You have attack buffs, global attack buffs. I don't think it's that big of a restriction, and we're also getting the new pole arm that gives like 36% attack.
That's a
That's true.
5-star weapon though that you have to get.
Okay,
So,
sure, but
like-
yeah. I don't know. Eonsun's just the GOAT, the strongest
No.
pure buffer in the game.
Eon's on my goat surely, but I don't know. I don't think she beats
A
Bennett.
part
bro.
of the
I'm
best,
sorry,
a part
man.
of multiple of the best teams in the game, with Bennett or going against Bennett. So I don't know.
Nah.
If I'm being honest, the Mavrika team just feels so bad. Like maybe it was just I've only played it in the event team, like event the event where you start with 0 energy, which pisses me off. But in that I played Xiangling versus C5 Yansan, and Xiangling was just way more comfortable and even cleared faster. And I don't think it was Xiangling with signature.
I will say this, that the issue with like the Mavwika is like Eonsan setup, like that being like Eonsan being best for her, is at the moment you get any vertical investment, like get C or R1 or sorry, didn't get C2 on Xiangling, Eonsan becomes worse.
Yeah.
And so it's a bit of a fallacy because
That's
with how
all gonna
popular
change with
Xiangling
the weapon.
is it?
Yeah, because
I haven't counted, but
it's 36%
Okay, so-
attack.
so C6 Eonsan with that weapon versus C2 R1 Xiangling would win.
Do you know what? Xiangling is 42%. It's 40% attack at C2.
It's 45.
didn't know we were considering
45,
future
still.
stuff as well. Because if we're considering
Yeah.
future stuff, here's the counter argument. Bennett could have a higher base attack. They've done that with the spear, they did that with a claymore. Why wouldn't they do it with the sword?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
is also
then
true.
that's not confirmed, to be fair.
Even more.
Yeah, but we're talking about future stuff that doesn't exist in the game yet.
Yeah, but Bennett Eonson gets even stronger if that's the case.
I mean,
But
sure.
wait, if you're
that
factoring
includes
Bennett
Bennett.
plus Eonsan, we're talking about Bennett versus Eonsan.
Yeah.
Wait,
I mean-
Okay, well, I can do a bunch of arguments for Bennett versus Yansan. I think
I think we all can.
Bennett is just, first of all, Yansan's healing is extremely bad and it pisses me off.
Yeah, man.
And Bennett's healing is actually alright, pretty solid. Not really for Farina, like not ideal for Farina, but you can still work around it. Other than that, the buff is just you put the field down and it's not nearly as restricted. Then for pyro carries, it's like way closer because Bennett also provides 50% pyro damage and the particles, which is really nice. Something I've noticed is that I feel like Yansan doesn't do enough like particle generation. Maybe that was just my experience, but I
She
had like
turns 4 particles.
yeah, I don't know why I ran into energy issues in like some certain teams. Maybe that was just a me issue.
Yeah.
But other than that, Bennett's just more flexible in more teams. I feel like Yansan is very underwhelming if she doesn't have scroll to use, and like for units like Navia and Wanderer, for example, like it doesn't feel good to use a Yansan instead of Bennett. And
yeah.
she's not nearly
Just use them together. Okay, just use them together for Wanderer.
Wonder. I mean, yeah, true, I guess. But that's
Not for
Like,
Navia though.
can
I
also
don't
just be
like
like-
Yonson
could-
Navia.
Couldn't you just do like Wander, Faruzan, Bennett, and Freenet? That'd be better than having to use Yamsa.
yeah, kind of. Probably.
Sorry,
I don't know.
It depends if you can-
I mean, I don't fully know because I haven't tested the team. I don't
So-
have a
Frena's
Wander, so
still
I'm like,
better.
I feel
but,
like it would.
The Yonson variant isn't that far
So-
behind.
I think how it works is if you reach certain breakpoints, right? Because let's say you end your Wanderer and you're playing Bennett Eonson, you are screwed. You are waiting till your cooldown is back. There's nothing you can do. I guess you can do some charge shots with Faruzan, which is not being buffed by anyone. Cool. But that's about it, really. So I think the breakpoints alone might favor Farina.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna debate Bennett and Eonson, can I go next?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. You mentioned that, like, Flip mentioned that Eonson is more forgiving than we expected. May I present to you Coralend? I remember everyone talking about how Coralend will be like one of the best characters possible with Eonson. From the footage I've seen and my own testing, if you don't do things in the perfect rotation, and if you don't start on color end with like the mask being lit up, let's say, like above 42.9 volts, you are never getting back there. It's not happening. There is no
Chlorine
scenario.
is only able to maintain the buff, not actually.
But that's exactly my point, right? Is that even the characters that we thought are really good with Eonson, or they should be good with Eonson, we turned out they weren't. They're actually very unforgiving with Eonson.
Well, I actually have a counter argument to that.
Yeah.
If you look at Chlorine, right? What a lot of people assumed in pre-release was that Chlorine was never going to be able to get Eonson C6 buff. But as you just explained, Chlorine is only able to maintain Eonson's Night, so not able to go above it. So if you use a Chlorine's Malvika team, then with Malvika you can activate Eonson C6, and then Chlorine will be able to maintain Eonson C6 throughout her whole field time. That is how the interaction works as well. So as long as you're using Malvika, then you also don't really run into this issue.
Yeah,
But
sure.
you had to have Malvika though.
But like, think about it like this, right? If, let's say, God forbid, you're using Missplitter on what's her face, Colorant. Well, you have a choice to make. You're gonna burst and get the passive, or you won't burst, and you don't get the passive, but you get to keep your Eonson overflow.
Just get C4.
I mean, I think even
Surely.
with C4, if you start with a burst, you might actually not be able to maintain it because you lose a bit
And
while you're doing the burst.
Yeah,
I can
well,
confirm that because I've tested that. Even with C4, you'll
Right.
lose the buff if you burst first.
So, like,
solo.
I don't think Eonson is as good as I don't think Eonson is better than we perceived. It's either equal or lower, actually, I'd argue. And
Yeah.
in a lot of the teams where, let's say, you're using Eonson over Bellet, you're completely forgoing the, like, quote-unquote, the character we've all agreed that is really, really good, Xiangling. You won't be able to battery her. Same goes for Gaming, for example, right? It's not just Xiangling. There's a lot of scenarios where Bennett being able to battery characters
Yeah,
just due
that's
to him
true.
being viral is very valuable.
Oh.
And also, a lot of the characters that you would run Bennett with are, in fact, attack scalers that automatically benefit a lot from the attack buff. Meanwhile, Eonson being Electro kind of doesn't give you the pyro resonance. So in a lot of scenarios, you'll still want to use it.
That's also true.
And I really wanted Eonson to have good application, but
There's also
because-
double pyro teams that exist without Bennett, though.
they do exist. But there's a lot of teams that would rather run Bennett to get the pyro resonance because they can only afford one pyro character. Think of any team that wants to run like melt reactions, for example. You're not going to run a second pyro character other than your support and your main DPS, right? And it's like, especially in a meta where everyone is melting, no one wants to play anything else.
Wait. Melt teams is such a weird example to use because in melt teams again, you would also just use both.
I'm just gonna
Again,
say something.
using both isn't an argument against Bennett because the
No.
argument, like, we're trying to compare Bennett to Eonson here. Like, I understand that they both can be used, just like what's her name, Yelan and Xingqiu, and
Okay, but-
like let's say Xiangling and Kazuha to some
Yeah,
extent.
but when a majority of the teams are better together, then we have to look at the teams where either Eonson is better or you just can't use Bennett, right? In which I would argue Eonson if we exclude using them together, I would argue that Yelan is just better for better characters.
You could argue that currently, as the meta stands, there are some teams where Yelan is an upgrade over Bennett, and you wouldn't be wrong. But I could argue with you there are more teams that still have Bennett as their best in slot over Yelan. And I would argue that the teams where Bennett is still best in slot over Yelan are actually more than the teams where Yelan is better than Bennett.
Yeah, and I personally think that it's mostly if we get like I'm pretty sure we won't get any more Natlan carries. I think that will be kind of it, right? So like we are already getting the Fontaine unit, and I think if you don't play Natlan characters with Yelan, you either heavily rely on like C4 and C6, or it's just it really doesn't feel comfortable to use Yelan at all. Like,
and the thing about Yelan healing, by the way, that I also wanted to mention is it's about as good as Goro, and I've really coped with trying to get Goro to heal as much as possible so I can use Farina as like the fourth final slot for like a mono Geo team for Ito. It is not happening. The healing is really terrible.
No one has ever argued Yelan is healing is good, to be fair.
Did someone argue that to you?
I mean, I thought Saga was talking about the healing being a little bit okay. Like, it's not...
Our healing is garbage.
I didn't say your healing was okay, but it's like an argument against Yelan versus Bennett, of course.
Oh, okay. If you meant it more of an argument against, not with, then my bad. But yeah, and are we forgetting the cleanse? Like, I know the cleanse might not seem that important, and people might meme on Bennett that a lot of the time he causes the Toba to babe on you, or causes the cryo lectors to melt on you. But there are scenarios where the cleanse actually works, and the cleanse is actually beneficial. Yelan doesn't have
with this one.
I would like argue the cleanse is like Bennett's imbuing you with pyro is more of an issue and nowadays than it is a help. Because there are so many things that will screw you. You'll get overloaded, burned, vaped, melted. Like it by a lot of enemies in the game that do elemental attacks.
I think being overloaded is the worst, honestly, because at least vaping or melting, you just fucking die. When you get overloaded, you get knocked like 20 feet into the air.
Yeah,
you just start getting ragdolled.
How many times does that really happen in practice?
Yeah, it's kind of rare when those kind of scenarios happen, but like
single target impact, so overload downsides aren't really there nowadays. Unless it's like Mizuki shield.
Wait, what? That happens. Wait, if you get knocked out of Bennett,
we're not talking about overload on enemies.
Come on, Emily, they're being overloaded to us.
Overload, like knockback and shit. What?
No, you get knocked back if
you're knocked back us.
Oh, that's
like you get knocked outside of Bennett burst and get one back in.
That's the biggest downside of Bennett.
Huh?
That's his biggest downside, yes.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to mention is just real quick the application. I wish Yelan application was better than that. Like, let's say you're in a scenario where you really want a lot of electro application. Yelan consuming her own stamina while you're doing the charge attack is not very good. Like, you might be able to do it for one rotation, but the second rotation, if whatever, like the shield you're fighting isn't done yet, you're just not gonna have stamina. You're just gonna be hitting him with normal attack and you're gonna feel terrible. But with Bennett, like, 2 units of Pyro on his E, he basically deals with any Pyro check in the game, as long as you have him on your team.
By the way, since I haven't said anything so far, I don't know a whole lot about Yelan, but as far as I can tell, she's pretty strong for very strong characters right now. But
yes,
I feel like most of my teams resolve around Bennett because I'm a pretty heavy Xiangling user. So, in my opinion, Bennett is just a way more flexible core, and Yelan is more of a specific buffer for certain strong characters that are currently meta.
Yeah,
Yelan.
It's more so to have mobility.
And like that's the other thing too. If we're not arguing like the top teams in the game, we're just arguing about just teams in general. Like Bennett versus Yelan, Bennett is significantly more flexible. So, yeah.
I will accept flexibility chesting from everyone but Saga. Considering how much
What?
we hated. You
Oddly
know,
specific.
you shit on Furina so much for this.
Okay, actually, I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that one. I'm with
Okay,
you.
but I do still think even without flexibility, Bennett is kind of better than Yelan. Like,
Yeah.
because of the constellation dependence and stuff.
But here's the thing. I wanted to really argue that Saga, but the agreement was C6. I know it's unrealistic. I myself spent 250 bulls so far, and I only have C2 Yelan. Most of my
I-
friends spent 100 bulls, and they have no Yelan. But
I've
the
done
agreement was
130. I have the
C6.
C4 Eon. I think I have the C5
Hey,
Eon,
look.
actually.
I was lucky and got it under 90 pulls, but hey, I had a
What?
lucky
Under
streak that
90?
day.
That's insane.
Yeah,
But
and that
wasn't
same
lucky.
that same stream I also won 9 50/50s for my viewers, so that was a crazy
Execution.
pulling session.
Okay.
I guess
well,
I know where my Yonsons went.
Okay, should we talk about Chartreuse? I mean, she's always a
Where did Joy
second
come
s-
from?
Okay,
Oh,
Chevrolet.
wait, never mind. You put that there.
We have
Chevron
three people
saved
agreeing
the
on
world.
second place.
I'm
Nice.
just saying. Chevrolet saved the electro element.
Yeah, she kind of did.
Yeah,
or like
she
she
created an
very
entire
much
archetype
did.
on her own.
Do we all
She
have
created
the
an entire
same
archetype on her.
characters for supports? Poopa Kuki here. Nakama,
I
what
put
are we
Lanyan
doing?
here because I will get to that.
Martin,
take.
Raluf, and me have
I'm
all
so
the
proud
same
of you, Sug.
characters. The only difference is that I have Sucrose over Yelan, which I guess I'll have to explain. But
Actually, you know what would be interesting? The people who didn't put Cheveruz as number 2 to explain why isn't she number 2? Since there are more people that have her at number 2 than people who don't.
Yeah, Nakama, why
I mean,
is Chevy?
The thing is, I just thought like about Sucrose and Chevy, and while Chevy like enables Overload, she like makes Overload not just a viable team, a very fucking good team. But like Sucrose actually just works for every element. She can use VV. Sure, if you have like Xilonen and Kazuha, Sucrose is less of a good pick because usually Kazuha and Xilonen just do the job better. But if you don't have them, Sucrose usually just a very good pick in those teams, and she can just work in more teams than Chevy. Chevy can only really work for Electro and Pyro characters.
I do think we need to. There's a difference between Sucrose teams that can use her EM buff and teams that can't, because teams that can, she just feels very cold. But teams that can, she's actually like insane for Mavrika
Yeah.
or Mualani. But like
Yeah.
you wouldn't play her with Varessa, for example, unless you're playing Aggravate or something. But that's kind of cool.
That's why Chevy's there.
But yeah, for Mualani and Mavrika, Sucrose is actually incredible, and because we are not seeing that much grouping content, I could see
And that boy
someone
Gaming.
say,
That boy Gaming too.
yeah, for Gaming is very strong too. And I could see a person saying that Sucrose is better than Kazuha, unironically, but it's obviously
There are
like
scenarios.
suggesting-
In our current day,
there were scenarios. Yeah.
I'll
That's
take it.
generally not a crazy take.
Like, when was the last time we actually needed grouping in Abyss?
I mean, I feel
You
like
know?
that's
No,
There was
even-
there was no okay wait hold on, there was literally the Abyss like a few patches ago with like
Not
22
even in
fucking
last
enemies.
grouping was useful.
True, that
in
was
last
20 enemies,
she
but
was
that
not winning against Kazuha, even with grouping in mind. He was losing to Xilonen, even
Like-
when grouping was favored.
Yeah, it was
the
so
20 enemies
multi-wavy.
you're referring to, by the way, are Hilichurs that charge you face first, wherever you are.
Yeah, it was a Nilo Abyss, not a Kazuha
It
Abyss.
you really didn't need
Almost
Kazuha.
all.
Like, Kazuha did not make a significant difference there.
True.
Every single enemy there just charges that you except the Hydro Hilichurls.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
are just positions.
Archetos.
Yeah, and especially it was like extreme multi-wave, so VV just had a big disadvantage, I mean.
Yeah, that part Xilonen just won. And even though Xilonen just a better character, I got up times, just better.
Just
But,
to make a
like-
stupid take, Sucrose can Obas well.
True,
Why did it only
true.
get- only get
Imagine
only
double
get
hitting with
Xiangling?
Xiangling with VV up. Insane. Why even bother playing other characters against the Topa?
honestly true though.
I
Okay.
cannot wait though to play Veresev against the Topa. It's gonna be so much fun.
Even Xilonen can still shred
Top
Pyro
Gemma, it's
there.
gonna be amazing.
Kazuha can't.
Top of my go.
I mean, Kazuha can, with Kazuo Ken, if you have Kazuo C6 and you swirl his weapon with Bennett C6, that's his
Yeah.
only way.
Yeah, but Lynette can do it at C6 better than he can. Or before he can.
Exactly.
Lynette chest. Okay, back to
I
chat.
should have put Lynette for DPS. No.
Yeah, Nakama did actually.
Plunge Lynette is so good.
Cope. But yeah, it's okay, it's fine.
I never understood, like, why would you plunge on Lynette instead of just putting another support and plunging on Shenyun? But maybe I'm
It
missing
does-
something.
Lynette is better.
Is she actually?
She actually is, yeah.
Damn. All right. By how much?
Not
At
much.
least 27.2%.
Okay, fair enough.
I
Really?
remember PvPing why in Flip server that Zhao is mid because C6 Lynette exists. It was like
so
1 year ago or
mad.
something.
Wait, who was mid
What was
because of
funny?
C6 Lynette?
I was joking, I was trolling, okay.
Oh.
Zhao is mid because you can use C6 Lynette instead.
Oh,
Actually, Jao
I
is
mean,
mid because you're better off melting his hits than enabling his burst.
True, sadly.
honestly, yo.
Well, back
hate
then you
it.
couldn't say that, but now you can.
I wish I had C6 Farzon so much. Now I have to fucking pull for Xiangling in constellations.
Or
See,
Venti
me,
Constellation.
I want C6. I want C6 Faruzan, but I don't want to fucking. I feel like because I got so lucky with the Yansan that if I go for C6 Faruzan, I'm gonna spend like 200 pulls and not get
Oh,
a single
no.
one. I need 2 copies, so I'm just gonna skip and then because I don't want C3 or C4 Jalonin. I feel like that's too much for my account.
So do you know what's funny about the Farzon stuff?
What?
Wanderer is never getting another rerun.
Okay, we don't know
Wait,
that, man. Come
wait,
on.
No,
Wait
he,
for Inazuma
bro,
We don't know that.
he is not escaping the Sumeru Chronicled Wish. It's so over.
That's
We
Oh yeah,
don't
Who is
know that.
Sumeru,
Let people.
Who
But
the
I
fuck is
think-
Wonder?
No, because like people are like, oh, lol, Farzon is on like a random banner, but that's actually just gonna be the case from now on because Wanderer is never getting another banner.
Yeah.
So
I feel
Farzon
like
is
this
gonna
is
appear
a-
randomly. It's so funny.
Isn't this a perfect segue to me from Chevruz if we're done with her and talk about
we
Farzon?
didn't even go into Chevruz, we just made it into Sucrose discussion. I
Yeah.
True.
okay, to be fair, there's
I mean,
some-
to check it,
There's not really much to talk about when all of us kind of agree.
All the Chevrus
what?
did was save Electro, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Just
we can talk about Farzon now and why I didn't put Farzon on my list.
Can we talk? Okay. Okay, fine, we can skip Chevruz, I guess.
I mean, the only other thing we can talk about Chevruz would be like, why did you put Bennett above Chevruz? But I don't think that's really that hard to guess.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. You guys
were
were like coming for my throat for Eonson over Bennett, but no one has said anything about Chevruz over Bennett.
Yeah, because bunch of us have it actually. Actually, no.
Wait, no one has Chevrus over Bennett. What? No one has
Yeah,
Chevrus over Bennett.
Never mind. So what are you
Is
on
it
about?
Mandela
then?
effect?
No, he has Eonson over Chevrus is the main thing because we all have Eonson under
yeah,
Chevrus.
no,
All of us.
Chevruz.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay,
I was thinking of putting... I was thinking
Wait,
of
okay,
putting Janssen
so-
over Chev, actually.
So
But then I
wait, that
thought-
also makes me question. You think Eonson is better than Chevruz?
No,
Me?
it was a thought I had for like 5 seconds and then like, nah, it's not worth it.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not worth it.
okay, the way I see Janssen is like a special, something you get to maximize the team. It's like a whale thing. You put your Janssen C6 on your Varesa team or your Marika team, and it's like for single target, it's very
That's
strong and stuff.
That's the
Or like
funny thing,
Unique.
though.
I really
but
wish
I'm
gonna
like
wait.
Eonson came out earlier because we would just not be having this fucking discussion.
Dude,
I don't know Wales
I
could go
think
to, like,
Eonson is
Wales,
only gonna get
Eonson
worse
just-
with time, not better.
Wait, let me just say this one
Never
thing.
happened.
Let me just say this one thing. For Wells, it's not a thing because if you for a high con Varesa, Sara does more damage or gives more damage than C6 Eonson. So like,
Oh,
and then like
wow.
for Mavwika, C2 Jalonen's better. So like she falls off for Wales.
That's
So like
true.
I don't know, man.
I don't see
Yeah, that's like
Janssen
the
in whale
only-
showcases.
Also, we're gonna mention one thing about Overload and like Janssen Chevrus together. If they're both together, Janssen C6 is insanely more valuable than Chef C6 for Overload.
That I can see actually, because I was like debating whether or not I want to throw more than 280 bulls on this banner and risk getting C2, you know,
Janssen C6 is
5-star.
generally 10k DPS increase in general.
Yeah.
While Janssen C6 is like double that. Because 3 more seconds of uptime and extra damage percent on top.
That's actually a really good point, and that's one of the things I wish I remembered when I was debating Shen Yun versus C6 Chevrus. That technically what you said is true, right? Like getting more Yonsan copies makes more sense, like does more for your overall team damage in both teams, being Shen Yun and Chevrus than Chevrus C6.
It's basically if you need one of the units to enable overload, it's Chev. But if you want to upgrade the best, you get Janssen cons instead of Chev.
Yeah.
If you have Chevrus C0, you can play it. But if you have Janssen C6, playing overload's a bit scuff. You need that Chevrus for that.
That's why I wanted to hear what Flip has to say about Eonson over Chevy, because that's what it came down to me when I was like ranking my list. Is what teams does Chevrus enable versus what teams that Eonson enable?
Yeah. Oh my god.
That's
Right?
a massive difference.
Like, once you think about that, there are so many characters that, like, without Chevrus, they're really, really bad.
They are
But
dead,
like,
yeah.
there are so many characters that without Eonson, they don't really care. That they'll still be functional.
Like, their damage will be lower, but they have other electro options.
Yeah. I low-key think people underestimate C6 Auroron as a replacement for Yonson.
Yeah, I'm leaving this call.
Yeah, he has some okay damage, nothing insane. But that 30% attack is literally Janssen C2.
Right? And he gets the whole scroll just like him. And he actually does damage unlike, Yonson.
Which is funny now.
This is rage bait. I'm not falling for this.
Hey, guess what? He can also hold elegy.
So much now.
Okay, before it gets heated, let's go to the next character. We already discussed Sucrose.
I was gonna talk about why I didn't put Faruzan.
I mean, yeah, I also didn't put Faruzan, but yeah, it's just one run job being made, I guess.
I wanted to say that.
Okay, I only placed
He's gonna
Faruzan
cry now, Saga. Look what you did.
Oh no.
I only really placed Faruzan there because out of those 4 supports, everyone else was fucking dog shit, dog piss, trash.
Me too.
Pretty much that. The same thing with Candace on my off field. But Faruzan is like, it's the same thing with Chevrus. She impacts her archetype really well. However, the difference between Chevrus and Faruzan is Chevrus has good units she can support, Faruzan doesn't.
Yeah.
Anemo is basically abandoned in terms of hyper carry stuff. And when it comes to 4-star only, 99% of the time it's better on fielding Faruzan than anyone else.
Yes.
Yeah, I like where this is going.
DPS.
It's true.
Okay, I guess I can...
just like about Faruzan, she actually buffs like some 5 stars, but she also buffs 4-star teams, so she's like just a very cool character. She makes them like, I think in 4-star teams she even just makes them viable, else they wouldn't clear.
One last thing on Faruzan. I think she has the biggest power spike at T6 out of every single 4-star in the game.
That's true.
Do you know what's funny? It would have been Aoife.
Oh no.
Oh,
man, let it go. Let it go. Like this boast depression Aoife changes, we need to move on from it, alright? It wasn't meant to be.
He needs a hug.
I understand that you're grieving about the C6, but come on, man. It was a good, like, I don't know,
change it back. It's an Alekino situation. I know this. I work at Hoyoverse.
Uncle Saga with the leaks.
Okay.
You mean Ow?
Can I talk about Lanyan? Because I specifically wrote characters that support the team by bringing their own buffs and other useful utility. I think C2 Lanyan's shield is very strong. That's basically it.
Yeah.
And
wow, really, Saga?
She does add in a nice bit of damage too.
And yeah, thank you. I was about to mention that damage.
And
Let's not forget about the damage.
if you don't want to
Yeah.
build her for damage, you can put her on TTDS, and she's a very good TTDS
That too.
holder.
Yeah.
And
That too, yeah.
Yeah,
she
her
has
damage
her
is like
80 EM buff with C4, and I think just overall she's solid. And I would put Faruzan
Yeah.
here if we actually had a very good Anemo carry, but since we
Yes.
don't, I just put Sucrose number 2 here basically. Like Lanyan is almost Sucrose, almost.
The thing that I want to mention about Faruzan that also a lot of people forget is playing Faruzan outside of what she was designed to do, which is animal support. You can just kind of play her as a grouper. You can
I
play
mean,
her as a form of
yes.
staggering the enemies. Like the amount of times where I was just playing like Faruzan in a normal team, and if the enemy is able to get staggered, they're not standing up. They're just perma CC'd. And
But
the
isn't it
damage might not be the best, but she still does like okay sub DPS damage, especially if again you had any form of attack buffing that she manages to like cast her burst after, even though her burst has like a long cooldown, and she doesn't battery insanely good, but her battery potential also isn't nothing. Like she can potentially help a little bit with your energy situation.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
Anemo teams she definitely does. Outside of that, she's just another particle generation bot, I guess. But
Yeah.
Another VV one.
Faruzan's damage is, in my opinion, nothing really to be interested. I guess it is AoE, right? Like it's all
Yeah.
AoE.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's like not really that important.
Yeah,
but-
you'd never consider her as, oh, I have a last slot and I want more damage. It's more you consider her, oh, she does the grouping, she can be a VV user, she can hold elegy, stuff like that, like in tandem with her doing a tiny bit of
I
damage.
guess, yeah.
Just having
It's so
seen
weird how we
Faruzan
can just
once.
go from like grouping is never important, it's horrible, to being like, yeah, Farzan's really good because she has grouping.
Because
I
that's
don't-
not the only thing she provides. If that was the only thing she provides or the main thing, then yeah, grouping isn't that important anymore. But since she does other things on top of grouping, I think that's worth mentioning.
Hmm.
It's kind of like Lanyan, by the way.
Yeah, it's nothing in it, the grouping is nothing insane. It's just it's
Yeah,
there
I'm
to
gonna
like
say that. Like, it's
keeping them staggered. That's it.
yeah, it doesn't really do a whole lot. I mean, it's
Hey,
better
we-
than like
we
Lynette
kind
with
of,
a
like,
C1, but
The lower we get into the list, the more we make like poverty TC takes.
yeah, yeah.
Like at the top, we are criticizing Kazua's for like only doing grouping basically, and like his damage buff
And
and
then-
stuff. And then the lower we
Yeah.
get, we suddenly value grouping. I think it's funny.
Grouping for
It is funny,
Faruzan,
yeah.
what king girl?
Okay,
Gotta
but
rely on
do we pyro main character? I think that's kind of based, I guess, because of the 15% C1 damage thing, I guess. But
Well-
is there anything else you wanted to say about pyro main character? Flip.
Scroll plus 15% damage bonus.
Yo.
True. I mean, technically Aurora
guess so.
buffs more. Like 30%
Yeah.
attack with C6. But
There's
it's
different
not
levels.
as
Yeah.
flexible.
Aurora would have been a
Is it?
crazy pick, honestly. There though.
If you play Pyro MC in Overload with like Auroron as your Electro slot, you can just give Pyro main character TOTM instead.
True. Full EM
So, like-
tenacity.
True, that's true.
And he's more usable than Daya, so the bar is like below the floor.
But Dea has defensive utility.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm surprised no one has talked about, like, no one put Diona on. Like, I didn't put it myself, but I was
Oh.
debating putting Diona on.
She would be.
The only thing Diona
I
is
mean,
useful.
Iona
but
is
me-
the best support for Amber, so actually she would have a spot there.
Sidlali is the best support for Amber.
You don't place it Lali with Amber.
What?
He's a 4-star chester, okay? Let's relax.
I mean, there must be a reason for that. I'm actually willing to listen.
Yeah, give us your insights.
Why, like 4-star characters, or what exactly?
No, why would you play Diona over Citalali for Ember specifically?
I mean, like, once you start putting like 5 stars in, you can just play like any character and just deal like, I don't
Oh,
know.
so cost efficiency. Okay, fair, fair.
Okay, who wants to participate in the poll?
What pool?
I don't know. I feel like between like my list, Martin and Rolf, you can kind of just use one of us because our lists are literally the
Okay,
same.
sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Like I only have Sucrose over Yansan, which
Honestly,
reason why I did that
Thundah's
is kinda-
kind of cooking.
she already know, surely.
The best 4 stars. Is there any funny take that could have been made? Like support Kirara or something, I guess?
Okay, there is
Kirara
one thing that
Hyperbox is
we
not good enough.
there is one thing that we could technically talk about a little bit, which is lower constellations.
You.
Oh lord, that
Poverty.
changes like half the fucking list, or not half, more than
not
half the
many
list.
4-stars have those.
Low constellation 4 stars are a government psyop.
It's not. I'm not talking C0. Like I'm talking like characters that would instantly drop off a cliff once you take the C6 away.
Yeah, I mean that's
Oh,
just
Shovers.
on this.
Xingqiu,
No, not Shovers.
Fischl,
It would
Okay.
Yansan.
C4, Ian.
Xiangling
Well,
will stay the
C0, yeah.
same.
C0 Yansan is made.
oh yeah, because I was on like C2, like you're kind of fine, but
Yeah, true.
Okay, let's say the C6s don't exist, so like C5 limits. Xiangling
yeah.
stays the same.
wait, Bennett without
Kinkle
C1.
has higher requirements. Bennett will actually be playable in TF for those who activated C6.
And you can use him in Eula teams now. And you can use him in Kuki physical.
Okay.
Fischl will be a bit downgraded. Auroran wouldn't have Janssen C2 anymore to put above her. Chevrouz's teams will have 10k less DPS. Janssen the same thing with 20k or
Okay,
something.
to be fair, like Chevrouz, some 4-star. If we are arguing 4-star damage teams, then like Chevrouz C6 isn't like nearly as valuable because you don't have a dedicated on-fielder.
And they all snapshot, so you at best snapshot like one stack on
Yeah.
Xiangling and Fischl.
Remember that one character called Goro? Imagine him without C6.
Then
not
he
do
will
He
be
goes from dog shit to garbage.
No, he will go from garbage to toxic waste.
Oh no.
Think about Kaya finally not being better than Rosaria,
Oh,
or is he still better?
Oh, Kaya's
never
damage
better than
requirements will
Rosaria.
be way higher. His application will be lower, his damage will be lower.
Yeah.
He will lose a lot without that C6 for those who have it.
Wait,
like me.
will we considering C6 Kaya, even though it's like the rarest thing ever?
I was considering C6 Kaya and still was not enough to put him in the off-fielders.
I mean, the rules were very
Yeah.
simple. C6, 4 stars. I don't think it's realistic, obviously, for a lot of scenarios. Mainly, I think the worst offender is the Yansan, because he's literally... They're
my
literally
God.
just offender right now.
I feel like the worst runner is Kaya. Who that many people have a C6 Kaya? I mean, Yansan surely, but like Kaya.
Think
is,
about
like,
it. If you wanted Kaya, you had more than enough time to get Kaya C6 if you've been playing.
No,
Yeah,
her.
that
you
is
didn't. Oh.
No, okay, like if you start from the beginning of the game and you actually like push to get a C6 Kaya, you
Yeah,
definitely
sharp
for sure could have
consideration.
gotten
That's
him.
what I'm saying. Like,
could have
that's
gotten
what
him.
I
more
did.
likely
that's-
for you
that's
to
like
get a Kaya
someone who
if you
pushed
put your
for
mind
it,
to it
though.
than it is to get an Eonson C6. Is that a hot take?
I mean, if you put your
It's
mind,
true.
you just put a
I'm
little
go-
money in
I'm
your
going
account,
to
you get
take
C6
it
Yansan, but that's beside the point.
I think I might
Yeah,
still be
but I
one
feel
of
like
the
one
rare
is
C6
putting
I
your
have, actually, though.
your wallet into it, one is putting your mind into it.
I think C6
Yeah, fair
is
enough.
pretty rare.
But
I got-
I'm saying like most people probably, especially from the beginning of the game, wouldn't have had that foresight unless they were like experienced gacha players, which majority of people who started Genshin weren't. So I don't know if it's a
C6
fair
Kaya
argument.
is also still bad regardless.
Yes,
No,
we all know
C6
that.
Yeah, fair
Kaya is the best, is better than
Yeah,
Ayaka.
she is.
True.
C6 Kaya is literally
Okay,
like, better than every
who
like
are
even
you and
Scofier,
what did
where
you
she's
do,
beating
Saga?
Maflika, bro. Maflika's
I
getting
was
C6
just
faster.
actually has
referencing
when Scofier comes out.
Sekapoko. It was a
C6
versus.
Oh,
actually has
damn.
like the best defensive utility in the
Dude,
game.
I
if
think
you
that
think about it.
Sakapoko clip is the greatest piece of
yeah.
Genshin.
There was one.
Media
There
we
was
have.
one time. There was one time
And
I heard Sekapoko
that
say
movie
Sekapoko on his
itself-
stream.
Oh, you want me to say something? Okay. That Sakapoko's clip has more relatability, is more real than any Zajev taken this year.
True.
Whoa, whoa.
No, what
agree.
I was gonna say, there was one time Sekapoko on his stream said Beta was better than Fischl, and he spent the next hour and a half trying to convince his chat that he was right. His chat did not agree.
I was about to like talk about that because I was also debating Beto or Auroron, but I obviously decided for Auroron.
Beta over Roron? Beta's no.
I'm
You
gonna
know,
say
when I was
Actually, Beto
I mean-
like was
I mean,
pretty
an
good
AoE
in-
like
Beto was pretty good in
Like-
that one Abyss. There was an Alekino Beto speed one where she was better than Fischl. It was pretty funny.
oh yeah,
Like,
yeah, because
Overload.
Beto in AoE is actually really good, but the problem is
specifically two
you
target,
don't
not
get them
EV.
many.
Two target,
Yeah, specifically two
Two
target.
target,
Yeah.
she beaks. Like she's one of the best damage dealers, if not the best damage dealer at two target.
I wouldn't
As
say
like
not
the
the best
yes.
anymore.
Not the best damage though.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, but
No,
Yeah,
I said
I
said
said
sub
off
DPS
field.
after.
Yeah,
not-
the best
not-
off field.
off field,
Like
yeah.
no one is
yeah,
gonna
off field,
compare
yeah.
that to Mabuika.
Nah,
But-
Xiangling will kill off damage.
The thing about Beto,
No.
I was actually making my list, and while I was making my list, a friend of mine was like watching me make it. He hasn't played Genshin in like a year or two, and he was asking me why isn't Beto there for like off-field sub DPS, and I was like, Auroran exists. And he's like, what?
Yeah,
And I
And now-
had
yeah,
to
that's like the
explain to
reason
him
that's
how
the
like
thing.
And
a
also,
lot of
if you-
scenarios where Beto would have made sense, Auroran just makes sense. Like the only time you can debate that is, I guess, aggravate.
Okay, to be fair though,
Funny
Beto
thing, I have like Kuki / Beidou. Like my notes, I just wrote like Kuki could also be like replaced with Beidou.
To be fair,
Okay.
like regarding Beto versus Auroran, Beto actually does have like okay-ish defensive utility also built into her kit. She has both interruption resistance and damage reduction and a tiny shield with C1. So she does technically provide defensive utility.
The thing about the C1, I tried to build her literally for the C1 shield, like full
you
HP.
You don't do that.
It was still not that great. Like I get
just-
that it will protect you from a few hits here and
Just
there, but I
one
wouldn't
hit,
rely on
yeah.
it.
You aren't relying on it, but like it's
Yeah.
basically on top of the damage reduction, which already would do. Like it makes the shield stronger because damage
Yeah.
reduction obviously scales the shield, and
Yeah.
the interruption resistant. Yeah, I mean it gives you one hit without getting interrupted. which is,
Actually,
like,
speaking
like
of damage
Beidou
reduction,
shield, just,
And even
just
with
play
all
Beidou
this
shield with
right?
Xingqiu and like C4 Jean, and it's actually not gonna be destroyed. Because you have 100% damage reduction.
I was about to actually ask about that. Thank you for answering that. I was gonna ask if like the 100% damage reduction myth is actually true, and it's not a myth.
Yeah, Chlorant can get 100% damage reduction and it works.
Jean can do it.
Yeah, right. And it's like it's wild
Like
to me that
Jean
they'll
Vito
allow an
Xingqiu.
infraction like that. Like you just don't take damage.
I mean that's the same.
The
Like,
problem with
just play
Beidou
C2
now-
Lanyan if you wanna
Problem
also not take
with
damage.
is not that she's like outclassed. Well, it is, but at the same time, we are in a single target impact
Oh,
era.
no.
So Beidou
Yeah.
is basically unusable.
Yeah, Beidou doesn't do anything in single target. It's just defensive utility.
The best thing that Beidou does in single target is 15% Electro Shred for either Fischl, Xingqiu,
Fischl,
Chlorine.
yeah.
You can
No,
also play on Noblesse to buff like 20% attack.
I think you all are forgetting that you can on-field Beidou. Come on, guys.
That's a
Oh,
crazy
yes.
take.
I
C4
I
Just
played
on-field
Beidou
her.
first. Yes, you
But
can
nah,
play her as
maybe.
an on-fielder, but it's not very good. I've played her with Burgeon. Like that whole thundering furry thing with that
Yeah.
Zajev
Thundering
took
Mummy.
in the
Yep.
release. That dog shit. I just
Okay.
play at Beidou and it felt much better. Because I like Beidou, not Razor.
Okay, well, I
Yep.
think we're kind of done. Let's see who won the vote. It was Martin, I see. Then who won
Yay.
overall?
I think Martin won over Oxy won 2.
Martin. I guess Martin wins.
Yay!
Finish
Yeah.
him.
What? Wow, you need to get into a voice acting career. It was pretty good.
Do I? Right.
The people do not resonate with the truth.
Okay. Then I think this episode is finished. We talked like for almost 3 hours now. No, 2.5 hours actually.
Yep.
Okay, but yeah, thank you all for coming. I hope you all celebrate the half-year anniversary. Get yourself some
Yeah, I'm gonna bake a
celebratory
cake.
juices. Or maybe
Yep.
not.
Go blaze Sucrose some more. True.
Can have a celebratory goon.
Okay, Flip.
I agree.
Anyone else uncomfortable? No, I'm joking. Okay, if you want to join the Sucrose Stans podcast, my Discord is linked in the bio. Or not linked, but my profile is there. You can just DM me and I will see if you qualify. Then you can potentially join an episode. And yeah, that's
There
it.
is only one requirement, by the way. You need to have at least 2 brain cells.
Yeah, that's true. And
And
So
that's
you
a
need to be
big
smarter
thing.
than Nakama.
Good thing I joined before that rule was
What
added.
was the Nakama slander? Hello?
That's
It's
not
actually-
a type bar, I'm gonna be
We
honest.
became the
with you.
new VA for Zhongli. I was Mantis wine, just the same as I remember. I'm reading chat.
Flip, what did I do to you? Why?
The hate. You spoke the truth, brother. That's why.
Yeah, exactly.
Is
I
Flip-
guess so.
is Flip
I could
Mike?
say some fun facts about 4 stars, but the episode's already too long.
That's true. Okay, so we should just end it now. Thank you all for coming
You-
and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.